Chapter 976. Ning Shu was speechless when he saw the noble consort looking at him pitifully. He had already sent her to her territory, but she was still intercepted. Who could she blame? Nyang Nyang, look at that Zhou Xiaoyi. She's just a commoner 7th rank, yet she dares to embarrass you in front of so many sisters. The noble consort twisted the handkerchief in her hand, and Ning Shu said indignantly. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and smacked his lips. The things in the imperial palace were good. Nyang Nyang, Qinxie is not trying to sow discord, but that Zhou Xiaoyi is too much. The noble consort saw that Ning Shu was in a daze again and spoke up. Oh. Ning Shu put down the teacup. This Zhou Xiaoyi is someone from your palace. You can't even control the people in your palace, yet you still have the face to complain in front of me. Go back and teach the people in your palace. Ning Shu felt that she would not have the face to complain if a 4th-rank concubine, the head of a palace, could not control a 7th-rank concubine. Nyang Nyang, you didn't see her foxy appearance. How should Qinxie control her? Qinxie also feels embarrassed, but Qinxie has no choice. The noble consort looked depressed. Qinxie is stupid and doesn't know how to teach her. She is now favored by the emperor, so Qinxie has no choice. You always have no choice. Can't you think of a way yourself? Ning Shu really admired the noble consort. Sure enough, she was able to get people out. But then again, shouldn't a general be familiar with all kinds of tactics? People who fought wars had the fastest brains. They desperately wanted to protect their own lives and could stimulate any kind of potential. Was it because the noble consort was a girl? You want to deal with Zhou Xiaoyi that much? Ning Shu asked. This consort is the mother of a country. What I want most is to see the harem in harmony. It is the blessing of the great Qian dynasty that you can give birth to an heir for the emperor. When Ning Shu said this, he almost bit his tongue. The noble consort looked helpless and stood up. Ning Shu bowed. Qinxie understands. Qinxie will take her leave. Ahem. Ning Shu coughed. You caught a cold last night. Are you feeling better? What? Zhuang Fei was a little confused. Didn't you say that you're not feeling well? Get an imperial physician to take a look. Ning Shu said again. Zhuang Fei shook her head. I'm not feeling unwell. Are you feeling unwell? I didn't. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu waved his hand. You may leave. Nyang Nyang, what do you mean when you say that Qinxie is sick? The noble consort Ning Shu took 2 steps forward. Ning Shu said, Zhou Xiaoyi needs to learn etiquette and rules seriously. Consort Zhuang thought for a long time. Her eyes lit up, but then she frowned. Nyang Nyang, Qinxie is sick. What if the emperor summons Qinxie to bed? Ning Shu almost couldn't control himself from rolling his eyes. If he said that the emperor was sick, he definitely wouldn't go to Yingyue Palace. How important was the emperor's body? There were so many women in the imperial harem, so there were too many choices. Zhuang Fei obviously had scruples. The imperial harem's favor was greater than the sky, and if she was sick and closed the palace, it would be a lose-lose situation. Ning Shu took another sip of tea. The tea flowed down his throat to his stomach. Oh, it was really delicious. The emperor is still very interested in Zhou Xiaoyi. Ning Shu almost directly said that even if Zhao Su went to Yingyue Palace, it had nothing to do with her. Zhuang Fei looked conflicted and finally stamped her feet. Nyang Nyang Nyang, Qinxie is not feeling well. Ning Shu was speechless. Was she feeling well or not? Get an imperial physician to take a look, Ning Shu said helplessly. Don't come to pay respects to me for the next few days. Qinxie thanks the empress for her grace. Zhuang Fei took her leave. After leaving Long Autumn Palace, Zhuang Fei returned to Yingyue Palace and went to Yuqiong Garden to see Zhou Xiaoyi. Zhou Xiaoyi was now being taught a lesson by Nanny Li. She had a book on her head and a vase on the book. Nanny Li held a bamboo stick in her hand and asked Zhou Xiaoyi to salute. Zhou Xiaoyi bent her body slightly, but the vase on her head fell to the ground with a clang and broke into pieces. Zhou Xiaoyi, please be more serious. Nanny Li took the bamboo stick and hit Zhou Xiaoyi's waist. When you salute, straighten your waist and don't move. Xiaoyi, you have to learn etiquette as soon as possible. Nanny Li said in a deep voice, I heard that the Empress is not satisfied with your etiquette. In the next few days, Xiaoyi has to learn the rules from this old servant. After being hit in the waist, Zhou Xiaoyi hissed in pain. Her skin had been transformed by the system and became very sensitive. Even a finger press could turn red. Being hit by Nanny Li was very painful. Zhou Xiaoyi regretted her rash actions in Long Autumn Palace. The harem had a strict hierarchy. She shouldn't have confronted the Empress so early. Zhou Xiaoyi now understood why the favored concubine system gave her half a year. When the noble consort saw the embarrassed Zhou Xiaoyi, she sneered and said to the maid beside her, I'm not feeling well. Ask the imperial physician to go to Yingyue Palace. Yes, Your Highness. The noble consort looked at Zhou Xiaoyi, who had a graceful figure. Even though she was embarrassed by Nanny Li, she still looked lovely and charming. There were tears in her eyes. If a man saw this, his heart would soften. But Zhou Xiaoyi was facing the hard-hearted Nanny Li. A woman's way of dealing with a man didn't work in front of a woman. Zhou Xiaoyi was just sick and had to stay in the palace for a while. With Zhou Xiaoyi's appearance and figure, she would definitely have a meteoric rise. She had offended Zhou Xiaoyi before and sent Zhou Xiaoyi to the cold palace. The noble consort didn't believe that Zhou Xiaoyi would not retaliate against her. The imperial physician came to see the noble consort and said that the noble consort had a summer fever. He asked her to rest well and wait for the weather to cool down. Ning Shu sent some tonics to the noble consort and asked her not to come to greet him and to have a good rest. Ning Shu also asked the female official Tongshi to temporarily cancel the concubine service in Yingyue Palace. As for when the noble consort would recover, who could say for sure? Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The noble consort had to recuperate, while keeping an eye on Zhou Xiaoyi. She was worried that Zhou Xiaoyi would go out and have a chance encounter with the emperor. It was not only the noble consort who kept an eye on Zhou Xiaoyi, but also Nanny Li. The empress had reprimanded Zhou Xiaoyi in front of so many concubines. She felt quite embarrassed. No one could doubt her professionalism. Zhou Xiaoyi's favorite thing was to wear her hair loose and elegant clothes, which made her look like an otherworldly fairy. It was casual and mischievous. But Nanny Li felt that this was not proper. She asked the maid to comb her hair properly. At night, she looked like a female ghost with her hair loose. Zhou Xiaoyi was really anxious. Her task of being the most favored in the harem had failed. She hadn't seen Zhao Su for 2 days. Men liked the new and got tired of the old. He had forgotten her so quickly. The second failure. You have one more chance to fail. If you fail again, you will be punished, the system said. Chapter 977. Zhou Xiaoyi sighed inwardly. Logically speaking, she had the absolute advantage. Why was it so difficult? Zhou Xiaoyi thought for a while and felt that she had exposed her ambition too early. No boss in the workplace liked their subordinates staring at their positions every day. She had slept with the empress too early and had dragged the emperor to her courtyard. But if she didn't drag Zhao Su to her courtyard, her task would still fail. Anyway, it had come to this, so she had to take it slow. Task: serve the empress tonight. The system's mechanical voice rang out. Zhou Xiaoyi couldn't help but scratch her hair in distress. How could she serve the empress when such a ferocious tigress was watching her? Besides, the empress dowager was ill and none of the concubines in the Yingyue palace could serve her. This mission was simply forcing him to do something he couldn't do. Xiaoyi, please don't do such indecent things. Seeing Zhou Xiaoyi scratching her ears and cheeks, Granny Li couldn't help but say. Zhou Xiaoyi looked at the tigress' wrinkled face and triangular eyes. Why did she still keep such a person in the palace? It was time for her to retire. She could just give her some money and kick her out of the palace. Why did she still stay in the palace? This kind of stubborn old woman was the most annoying. If she had power in the future, she would definitely get rid of this old woman. It was so annoying to have her in front of her. Was she going to fail the task again? Xiaoyi, please continue to learn the rules. When you bow, don't move your waist or upper body and just bend your knees slightly. Granny Li said. So annoying. Zhou Xiaoyi was so annoyed that all she could think of was how to serve the empress tonight. Your Majesty, Madam is here. Qiuling walked into the hall and said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu put down the teacup. Let mother in. Madame Fu walked into the hall in a noble dress followed by a maid in a maid's uniform. Greetings to your Majesty. Madame Fu bowed to Ning Shu. Mother, please get up. Ning Shu helped Madame Fu to her feet and glanced at the maid next to her. Mother, please sit down. Ning Shu asked Qiuling to prepare some pastries and tea for Madame Fu. Your Highness, have you really thought it through? Madame Ning Shu asked. Ning Shu nodded. Is it this woman? Raise your head and let me have a look. The maid behind Madame Fu walked to the middle and Ning Shu bowed. Lieni greets your Majesty. Lieni raised her head, revealing a bright and seductive face. This woman only had one characteristic, seductive, seductive, seductive. Her long and narrow eyes were really like those of a fox. Vixen. Ning Shu's first impression of this woman was that she was a vixen. Lieni grew up in a brothel. Madame Fu didn't look happy. Your Highness. Mother, I know what to do. Ning Shu took a sip of tea. Lieni, let the Empress have a look, Madame Fu said to Lieni. Yes. Lieni raised her foot above her head. Then she bent her body into a frightening angle. Ning Shu's face was expressionless, as if he was watching a circus. Your Highness, Lieni's body is very flexible and she has been soaking in all kinds of herbs since she was a child, said Madame Fu. If she is soaked in herbs, she will never be able to get pregnant. Lieni was raised to be the top prostitute in a brothel and I spent a lot of money to buy her back, said Madame Fu. Your Highness, there are already so many concubines in the imperial harem. Madame Fu paused and Ning Shu said to Qiuling, take Lieni away and wash her up. Yes. Qiuling left with Lieni. Your Highness, you might be hurt by the wolf if you lure the wolf away. Madame Fu said worriedly, Your Highness should be giving birth to an heir for His Majesty. Those women in the imperial harem can't surpass Your Highness. Ning Shu pursed his lips and hesitated. Why did he have to find a woman? Because Ning Shu knew too well what men were like. They liked the new and hated the old. With this woman, Zhao Su might be able to ignore Zhou Xiaoyi for the time being. Because she was not Fu Wanhui and didn't care about Zhao Su at all. But there were enough women in the imperial harem. Did he have to find another woman for Fu Wanhui? This Lieni has a famous weapon and she has been trained to be like this since she was a child. She knows how men think. Because she knows her destiny, she says that it is better to serve His Majesty than to be surrounded by thousands of men in a brothel. Wanhui, women like her can be very scary. Madame Fu said, because they can do anything to survive. They are not like us, who are bound by all kinds of rules and have no dignity. All they have to do is to survive and please men. Ning Shu sighed. We're all trying to please men. We're all born to depend on men. So what you need to do is to have the capital to settle down. Now that His Majesty doesn't have a male heir, children are the most important thing in the imperial harem. Your Majesty, don't think too much about doting on them. Madame Fu looked at Ning Shu. Your Majesty, you decide whether you want to keep Lieni or not. Ning Shu couldn't help but cover her heart. This body was resisting and unwilling. Women. Ning Shu said to Madame Fu, then you can take Lieni back. Your Majesty, that's right, Madame Fu said. The women in the imperial harem are all daughters of famous families and they are all in the imperial harem. Your Majesty, if you get a woman from the red light district, it will be bad for your reputation. Your Majesty, you are the mother of the country and a role model for all women in the world. You can't let others know about your every move. Mother, I will remember. She was responsible for the century-old reputation of the Fu family and everyone in the imperial harem had their eyes on her. In such a position, there was no way she could have an affair. Fu Wanhui was a qualified mother of the country. She chose the lesser of two evils. She chose to share her husband with so many women in the imperial harem or be abandoned. Fu Wanhui chose to keep her reputation. Ning Shu wanted to pull Zhao Su down from the throne, but then Ning Shu found a problem. She didn't have an heir to the throne and there wasn't even a child in the imperial harem. Ning Shu suspected that the lack of children in the imperial harem was intentional on Zhao Su's part. If they had children too early, if they grew up, they would threaten his position and cause the concubines who had given birth to sons to have other thoughts. Ning Shu hadn't seen what kind of person Zhao Su was until now. It was said that he was a very capable emperor. Other than Zhou Xiaoyi, he hadn't opened his heart to anyone else. Most of the women in the imperial harem were just for fun. The imperial harem belonged to the emperor, but the imperial harem couldn't control the emperor's thoughts. It was true that the emperor's heart was like the sea and accompanying the emperor was like accompanying a tiger. Chapter 978. It was impossible for her to be the empress. In this society where men were superior to women, how could a woman be the empress? Without any ability, she would be torn apart by the men around her. In 5 or 6 years, she wouldn't be able to ascend the throne, let alone leave. When Fu Wanhui came back, she didn't know if she had the ability. Besides, Fu Wanhui didn't have any children. She was a woman facing a hopeless future. Ning Shu shook her head and threw the idea of being the empress out of her head. It was too unrealistic. She had to be realistic. Her mission was to make Zhou Xiaoyi disappear. She had to make the system disappear. Why did she care so much? If she had the time, she might as well take care of her body and wait for Fu Wanhui to come back and have a child. Women in this era all lived like this. They followed the 3 rules and 4 virtues. They lived with their husband as the world. If a mantis tried to stop a car, it would be crushed by the wheels. Empress, Madame Fu called out to Ning Shu. Fuck, what's with my habit of being absent-minded? In the past, I was always ready to go, but this mission was surprisingly relaxing. At least she didn't have to face violent attacks at any time. Mother, I've thought it through. You can take Lieni back, Ning Shu said calmly. Empress, please let me stay in the palace. Lieni is willing to work hard for you. Lieni walked into the palace. Hearing Ning Shu's words, she immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Empress, please take me in. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows and said calmly, no need. Nyang Nyang, please accept this servant. This servant is willing to be Nyang Nyang's dog and follow Nyang Nyang's orders. Lieni cried. I don't want to go back to the brothel. I'd rather be your servant who washes your feet. Washes her feet? Ning Shu rolled her eyes. She remembered that Qianlong's concubine, Ling Fei, used to wash Empress Fucha's feet. After Empress Fucha died, she fainted from crying at the funeral and attracted Qianlong's attention. She became a winner in life and had many children with Qianlong. She was the birth mother of the Jiaqing emperor. Ning Shu looked at Ripples, who was sobbing. "No need, you can go back with mother." Ning Shu took a sip of water from her teacup and lightly said. It was dangerous to keep such a person by his side. Both Lianyi and Zhou Xiaoyi were women made for men. One of them walked the low-end route, while the other walked the high-end route. No matter what, men would fall for this trick. Ning Shu didn't believe that Lianyi would be willing to be a maid. She had suffered so much since she was a child. She had been soaked in herbs every day just to make her body more flexible so that she could pose in all kinds of difficult positions and let men feel the supreme pleasure of sex. What he had learned had to be put to good use. That's enough. You're not fit to stay in the royal palace. You can leave now. Ning Shu asked Qiuling to take Lianyi out. Then your highness, I will take my leave first. Please take good care of yourself. Madame Fu stood up and bowed to Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded and said, Mother, don't keep this woman at home. She will make the house restless. On the other hand, she had taken it for granted. She shouldn't have taken it for granted. As the empress, she couldn't deal with a concubine and had to drag another woman in. How useless. Ning Shu wanted to slap his own face. I understand. I will deal with this person and she will go back to where she came from, Madame Fu said. No matter how unwilling Lianyi was to leave the palace, she was taken away by Madame Fu. As soon as Madame Fu left, Ning Shu said to Qiuling, the noble consort has been ill for a few days. Go and see her. Yes. Ning Shu went to Yingyue Palace to see the noble consort. The noble consort was eating sunflower seeds and she looked well. Your Highness. The noble consort bowed to Ning Shu immediately. Ning Shu lied through his teeth. I am here to see how you are doing. I still feel stuffy in my chest, the noble consort said with a hand over her chest. I brought you some medicine. Remember to take it, Ning Shu pursed his lips and said. Yes, I will remember to take the medicine on time, the noble consort said with a nod. Ning Shu picked up the sunflower seeds on the table and started eating. He asked, Has Zhou Xiaoyi come to pay her respects to you? Empress, it's not that I'm trying to sow discord, but ever since Zhou Xiaoyi came to Yingyue Palace, she hasn't come to pay her respects to me. She hasn't properly paid her respects to me, the master of the palace, noble consort Zhuang said very emotionally. Sit down and drink some water. Ning Shu pointed at the stool. It's just a formality. Don't worry about it. The noble consort sat down. How can this be? Rank determines a person's noble status. If that concubine were to be impudent when she saw the empress in the future, the harem would be in chaos. Ning Shu nodded. You are right. Your Highness, noble consort, Zhou Xiaoyi of Yuqiong Garden has come to pay her respects. A palace maid came in and told Ning Shu and the noble consort. Let her in. Ning Shu put the sunflower seeds in his hand on the fruit plate. Hurry up and clean this up, the noble consort said to the palace maid. When Zhou Xiaoyi came in, Ning Shu almost didn't recognize her. She was dressed neatly and her hair was combed neatly. The style of cloth, hair, and jewelry in the palace were strictly regulated. Depending on your rank, you could only wear what kind of clothes, wear what kind of hairstyle, and use what kind of headdress. According to the rules, Xiaoyi, who was of the 7th rank of the Shu family, looked very shabby compared to the other concubines. Zhou Xiaoyi was followed by Mammy Li. Mammy Li was dressed in dark clothes and had a serious and slightly wrinkled face. It was daunting. At first glance, one could tell that she was a tigress. Ning Shu didn't know if it was an illusion, but Ning Shu felt that Zhou Xiaoyi walked very strangely. Her steps were very small, like a woman in a kimono. It felt strange. Only this kind of old palace maid knew how to teach people. Looking at Zhou Xiaoyi's face, it used to be white and rosy, but now it was only white. Zhou Xiaoyi's face was very pale, and her chin was sharp. What was going on? Zhou Xiaoyi's body was a little stiff as she saluted Ning Shu and the noble consort. Qinxie greets the empress and the noble consort. Zhou Xiaoyi's salute was like a machine. It was very standard, but very stiff. When she saluted, Zhou Xiaoyi looked at Mammy Li from the corner of her eyes. Seeing Mammy Li's satisfied expression, she was relieved. She now hoped to see the emperor soon. This Mammy Li was simply a pervert. She used the excuse of teaching her the rules to torture her. She was now in pain and sore all over. Every day, she was forced to salute countless times by this perverted woman. Zhou Xiaoyi suspected that this old woman had become a pervert because she had never married in her life. After being grounded for a few days, Zhou Xiaoyi finally understood that men were all cheap playthings. After being dumped, they never came looking for her again. Chapter 979. What Zhou Xiaoyi wanted now was to get out of her current predicament as soon as possible. Now she couldn't even see the emperor's face. Even a servant could bully her. This was the result of having no power and influence. Zhou Xiaoyi was an office spirit, not the kind of little girl who longed for love. Especially after experiencing this, she really felt that what was in the palm of her hand was the most important. When the emperor visited a prostitute, she would be given a position and a courtyard to live in. She had failed 3 missions. Yesterday, she attracted the punishment of the beloved concubine system, needle pricking. Zhou Xiaoyi originally thought that it was just a needle pricking, but in the end, every corner of her body was pricked in an instant. The pain almost made her urinate. Zhou Xiaoyi was in so much pain that her eyes rolled back. This pain lasted for 10 minutes. Moreover, the system also said that if she failed the next mission, the pain would last for half an hour and there would be lightning strikes. As long as she thought of this, Zhou Xiaoyi was terrified. She didn't want to bear such pain anymore. Now, no matter what, she had to walk out of Inua Palace and see Zhao Su. Zhou Xiaoyi looked at the melon seed shells on the ground and then looked at the Zhuang Fei's good complexion. She didn't look sick at all. These 2 people were deliberately playing with her. In the face of such a situation, Zhou Xiaoyi had no other choice but to endure. Ning Shu bowed. Empress, this concubine has not paid respects to Empress for a while. My heart is very uneasy. Tomorrow morning, this concubine wants to pay respects to Empress. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. Was this showing weakness and lifting her confinement? Don't worry. When the Zhuang Fei recovers, you will pay respects to me together. Ning Shu said lightly. Learn the rules well. When you go out, you will give the emperor a surprise. Ning Shu looked at Mammy Li and said with a smile, Mammy Li used to follow the former emperor. Even the former emperor praised her. Zhou Xiaoyi, learn well from Mammy Li. It will be good for you. Thank you for your praise, Empress. This old servant doesn't deserve it. Mammy Li bowed and said. Have a good rest. Ning Shu stood up and said to the Zhuang Fei before leaving. Farewell, Empress. Farewell, Empress. Zhou Xiaoyi watched Ning Shu walk away and said to Mammy Li, Mammy, I have something to say to Consort Zhuang. Please go out first. Mammy Li glanced at Zhou Xiaoyi, bowed and went out. Noble Consort Zhuang, this concubine apologizes to you. Zhou Xiaoyi bowed towards the noble consort. The noble consort rolled her eyes and reached out to stroke her temples. What are you apologizing for? You didn't do anything wrong. There is no right or wrong in this harem. I admit that what I did before was not very proper, but we are under the same roof. Sometimes we need to help each other. We can cooperate. Zhou Xiaoyi said frankly. Since the emperor has come to Inyu Palace, the ones who benefit will be us, right? Zhou Xiaoyi said. I will return the favor. This. The noble consort's expression was somewhat hesitant. She had not received any favor recently. This method of pretending to be sick would still be a loss to her own interests. In this harem, in the end, what they fought for was favor. Without favor, they would live worse than a servant. Noble consort Zhuang, don't worry. I will absolutely not fight for what is yours. I will repay you. Our previous small conflicts can be completely forgotten with a smile, Zhou Xiaoyi said sincerely. You are an imperial concubine, but I am Xiaoyi. I am in Yingyu Palace and cannot escape from your hands. The noble consort pursed her lips and pondered for a long time without answering Zhou Xiaoyi. The noble consort was struggling in her heart. If she cooperated with Zhou Xiaoyi, it would be equivalent to betraying the empress. In this harem, no one could surpass the empress. She was afraid that the empress would hate her because of this. However, the empress would only sacrifice her interests. Take the matter of pretending to be sick as an example. She was supposed to serve the emperor, but this opportunity was given to someone else. Go back first and let this consort think about it. The noble consort waved her hand. Zhou Xiaoyi bowed. Noble consort, His Majesty hasn't come to our Yingyu Palace for a long time. You and I are bound together for good or ill. I'm afraid our Yingyu Palace will become a joke. Noble consort, Autumn Maid, who serves the Empress, has returned. She said that she has something for noble consort Zhuang, the noble consort's maid said to the noble consort. Let her in. The noble consort looked a little panicked. She turned to Zhou Xiaoyi and said, Go back to your Yuqiong court first. Zhou Xiaoyi's face darkened. In the end, her promise was not as good as the Empress. Zhou Xiaoyi could only turn and leave. She must find a way to see Zhao Su. As long as she was favored, she could get out of the current situation and avoid the system's punishment. Autumn Maid, what did the Empress say? The noble consort asked Qiuling with an unnatural smile. Qiuling took out a two-tailed golden phoenix hairpin. The phoenix's eyes were made of gems and matched with the golden color, it was particularly gorgeous and bright. Noble consort Zhuang, this is a gift from the Empress. Her Majesty said that this two-tailed phoenix will be reborn in the fire and become three-tailed, Autumn Maid said, holding up the hairpin. The noble consort was stunned and hurriedly had someone accept the hairpin. Thank you for the Empress's grace. I will remember it. The noble consort was now one of the 8 consorts and wore a two-tailed phoenix hairpin. A three-tailed phoenix hairpin could only be worn by one of the 4 consorts above her. The Empress also said that noble consort Zhuang should rest well, Qiuling said. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty, the noble consort said with a smile. Cailian, see Autumn Maid out for me, the noble consort said. I'll take my leave. Qiuling retreated out of Yingyu Palace. The noble consort looked at the phoenix hairpin on the table and sighed inwardly. The Empress was warning her to give a carrot after a stick. The enmity between her and Zhou Xiaoyi could not be eliminated. The noble consort asked herself if someone had sent her to the cold palace where she could not see the light of day. She would probably want to eat the other party's flesh and drink their blood. Now Zhou Xiaoyi could still calmly talk about cooperation with her. Zhou Xiaoyi was not a simple person. The Empress was not a simple person either. In the harem, no one was a simple person. The noble consort carefully weighed the pros and cons. If she cooperated with Zhou Xiaoyi, she would be the first person Zhou Xiaoyi would deal with when she climbed up. And she would have to risk offending the Empress. She didn't know why the Empress wanted to deal with Zhou Xiaoyi, and she also had enmity with Zhou Xiaoyi. That was why she pretended to be sick. Was she going to betray the Empress now? The noble consort didn't dare. Forget it, she'd better pretend to be sick. What a terrible life. On the other side, Qiuling returned to Long Autumn Palace. Ning Shu said, when I went to Yingyu Palace, I saw Zhou Xiaoyi coming out of the main hall. The two of them must have talked for a long time. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and sighed inwardly that the tea in the palace was really delicious. Ning Shu was not surprised by Qiuling's words. If Zhou Xiaoyi wanted to get out of the current situation, she could only rely on the noble consort. Chapter 980. Zhou Xiaoyi intended to cooperate with Zhuang Fei, but after waiting for a few days, she did not receive a reply from Zhuang Fei. She knew that Zhuang Fei had given up on cooperating with her. Another dead end. Zhou Xiaoyi could only think of other ways. Being trapped in this small Yuqiong garden, Zhou Xiaoyi was very unwilling. The most important thing was that she could not bear the punishment of the system. The punishment almost took half of her life. There were no wounds on her body, but she clearly felt the pain of the needle piercing her flesh and drilling into her bones. What should she do now? Zhou Xiaoyi glanced at Mammy Li, who was staring at her covetously. She was surrounded by enemies, which was not good for action. Mammy Li had been in the palace for so many years, so she should have connections. Endure it first. Han Xian could still bear the humiliation of kneeling. He was just showing weakness to Mammy Li. Zhou Xiaoyi bowed to Mammy Li. Mammy Li was a person who valued rules. She was the emperor's woman. Although a concubine bowed to her, she was still the emperor's woman. She immediately bent her knees and lowered her body. Xiaoyi, you are the master, and you are the same servant as me. It is not appropriate for you to bow to a servant like this. Zhou Xiaoyi suppressed the anger in her heart. This old servant was really stubborn. Mammy Li, you have been tired during this time. I am very grateful. It is worth it for Mammy to accept this bow. Zhou Xiaoyi said politely. This is what I should do. Xiaoyi, you don't have to take it to heart. Mammy Li began to teach Zhou Xiaoyi again. Xiaoyi is the emperor's concubine. How can you bow to a servant? You represent the emperor's family and the emperor's face. In the future, Xiaoyi can't bow to a servant casually. If people see it, it will be a big deal. Zhou Xiaoyi took a deep breath and said, I know. Task, save the emperor at the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. The task reward is excellent temperament. The system sounded in Zhou Xiaoyi's mind. Zhou Xiaoyi now felt frightened when she heard the mechanical voice of the system. When she heard that she had to save Zhao Su, she was stunned and asked, but I can't go out of Yingyue Palace now. How can I see Zhao Su? Even if Zhao Su is in danger at the banquet, I can't save him. How can I save him? Zhou Xiaoyi decided to ask first. Save him in whatever way you think will impress Zhao Su. The concubine's voice was emotionless. Usually, when a woman dies in his arms, the psychological impact on a man is the greatest. If she dies, how am I supposed to pamper my harem? When Zhou Xiaoyi heard that she was going to die, she quickly shook her head. She was already dead. What honor! Zhao Su would just give her a coffin and some empty title for the living to see. After a period of time, she would be completely forgotten. There were so many women in the harem that he would forget who she was in a few days. It was not worth it to die for such a man. I will release energy. Even if you receive a fatal injury, you will be able to survive, the beloved concubine system said. Zhou Xiaoyi clenched her teeth, but it was still quite painful. You win some, you lose some. She could only do this for now. But I can't attend the Mid-Autumn Festival, Zhou Xiaoyi said helplessly. Every Mid-Autumn Festival, all the concubines except those in the cold palace and those who are too sick to get up will attend. All the concubines will do their best to compete for beauty, the beloved concubine system said mechanically. Zhou Xiaoyi heaved a sigh of relief. As long as she could get out, she would have a chance to turn the tables. But I'm injured. How can I serve him? This was a suicidal act. How can I serve him when I'm injured? In order to save him, the emperor will definitely give you a title. You have a masterpiece as a reward, which will make men even more infatuated with you, the beloved concubine system said mechanically. As for your injury, you will recover very quickly. Zhou Xiaoyi felt that this was not right. Why don't we change the method? It's not worth it to be injured now. Can't you give me this reward first? During the Mid-Autumn Festival, I will definitely think of a way to attract Zhao Su's attention. You have no right to object, the system said coldly. Zhou Xiaoyi sighed. Perhaps she could use this chance to leave a deep impression in Zhao Su's heart. Zhou Xiaoyi discussed with the system. Don't give me any quests during this period of time. Let me prepare for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Can you not punish me and let me rest properly? You don't have the right to bargain with me. I gave you a quest, so what you need to do is to complete it. The beloved concubine system's voice was cold and mechanical. I didn't bargain. You don't want me to attend the Mid-Autumn Festival with a haggard face, right? Zhou Xiaoyi felt that she was the most sensible person. How could she bargain with the system? She still needed to rely on the beloved concubine system to make a comeback. I won't give you any quests during this period of time, but if you fail again, you will be hacked to pieces. When Zhou Xiaoyi heard that she would be hacked to pieces, her body trembled. Moreover, the pain would last for more than half an hour. If that was the case, she would rather be hacked to pieces than accept such a punishment. Is there anything that can make my complexion look better? Is there anything that can make me look more radiant? Zhou Xiaoyi asked the system. You will only receive a reward if you complete the quest. You don't have the right to ask for anything else, the system said mechanically. Zhou Xiaoyi was a little disappointed. The system was so heartless. She could only wait patiently for the Mid-Autumn Festival in 2 weeks. During this time, Zhao Su didn't go to Moon Reflection Palace. Instead, she visited the other concubines. Sometimes, she would visit Ning Shu's Long Autumn Palace. Every time Ning Shu heard that Zhao Su was coming to his palace, he would ask Chilling to dress herself up in a dazzling way. She would wear all kinds of hairpins in her hair. She would look elegant and dignified. I'm the empress, so I have to be dignified and virtuous. It wasn't that Zhao Su didn't like to act like the empress, but she just had to act like one. Chilling used to think that she shouldn't be so ostentatious in front of Zhao Su, but now she realized that being ostentatious had its benefits. She was wearing so much makeup now. When the original Zhao Su came back, she could wash off all the makeup and change her style. Only when there was a comparison could there be a comparison, and it could also give Zhao Su a new taste. Ning Shu had been taking care of this body since he had nothing else to do. He used his energy to strengthen the body. When the original Zhao Su came back, she might be able to have a baby. Ning Shu examined the body carefully. There was nothing wrong with her body, but she hadn't been pregnant for years. Ning Shu suspected that Zhao Su was infertile. Otherwise, why would there be so few children in the harem? Zhao Su wasn't good at suppressing her desires, but she just couldn't have children. It was just too tiring to dress up like she was in a jewelry store every day. It was tiring for her and disgusting for others. Chilling was very conflicted every time she helped Ning Shu with his makeup. It wasn't always better to have more jewelry. It was very unsightly to have so much jewelry on one's head. Chapter 981. Even a woman like Chilling despised Ning Shu's outfit, not to mention Zhao Su. Every time he saw Ning Shu's hair covered in jewelry and heavy makeup, it was unbearable to look at. Your Majesty, there's no need to be so formal between us. Zhao Su sat at the head of the table with chopsticks in his hand. Looking at the table full of dishes, he didn't even have the desire to eat. The sight of the glittering empress sitting next to him was a little unbearable, let alone having sex with her. There were so many women in the imperial harem and she wasn't the only one. With so many choices, if he wasn't satisfied, he wouldn't let himself suffer. He remembered that the empress's taste wasn't like this before. I understand. Ning Shu nodded and the headdress on his head jingled. Zhao Su was speechless. Well, the Mid-Autumn Festival is in half a month. Zhao Su put down his chopsticks. I heard that the noble consort is suffering from heat exhaustion. It's getting colder now. It's good for her to come out and get some fresh air. Gather all the concubines together and have a meal together. Ning Shu nodded and there was another round of jingling. I understand. I'll make arrangements for the Mid-Autumn Festival right away. Ning Shu glanced at Zhao Su. He had specifically chosen Yingyue Palace because he wanted Zhou Xiaoyi to appear. Although he missed her, he didn't go to Zhou Xiaoyi. Perhaps he was afraid that the noble consort's illness would spread to him, or for some other reason. Ning Shu found Zhao Su a little hard to guess. He didn't have any particular hobbies and was indifferent to the women in the imperial harem. He would either leave after visiting them or reward them with something if they serve him well. Ning Shu suppressed all the guesses in her heart and said to Zhao Su, Emperor, if you have time, please go and see Consort Zhuang. Qinxie has gone to see Consort Zhuang. Consort Zhuang misses Emperor. The weather is cooler now. Consort Zhuang's illness should be almost healed. Zhao Su narrowed his eyes and thought of Zhou Xiaoyi's fair and flawless skin. His eyes flickered and he turned to see the Empress staring at him. He said indifferently, You'll see her at the Mid-Autumn Festival. Let the noble consort rest well. Zhao Su still couldn't do it. One of the concubines was sick and fighting with another concubine in the next room. Consort Zhuang came from a family of generals, so the Zhuang family had to be responsible for guarding the borders. Zhao Su sipped his tea. Ning Shu asked, Your Majesty, aren't you going to eat? Qinxie doesn't see you eat much. Zhen is full. Empress, you can continue eating. Zhen will watch you eat. Zhao Su said with a smile. Ning Shu shyly lowered her head. As soon as she lowered her head, the hairpin and dangling hairpin on her head clanked against each other. Puff. Cough, cough, cough. Zhao Su, who was drinking tea, choked. Ning Shu quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe Zhao Su's mouth. Your Majesty, what happened to you? I'm fine. You can continue eating. Zhao Su reached out to block Ning Shu. Ning Shu sat down again. After a few mouthfuls, he asked Qiling to put away the bowls and chopsticks. Zhao Su gave her eunuch a look, and the eunuch stepped out and said, Your Majesty, Xiao Dezi just came to say that the Ministry of War sent an urgent report from the border. The Minister of War has submitted a memorial to the throne. Zhao Su rose to her feet and scolded with a frown, Why didn't you tell me? Your Majesty, please forgive me. I saw Your Majesty and Her Majesty eating. The eunuch dropped to his knees. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn it, did Zhao Su think she was an idiot? She was bullying the imperial harem for not getting involved in politics, wasn't she? Ning Shu looked anxious. Your Majesty, government affairs are more important. You should go deal with them now. But. Zhao Su looked a little embarrassed. But today is the first day of the lunar month. I should be sleeping in the imperial harem. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn it, why did you have to make me beg you to leave? What the hell was wrong with you? Your Majesty, you should go deal with your affairs now. It might be something important. There's always the 15th day of the lunar month, Ning Shu said shyly to Zhao Su. If two people love each other for a long time, they don't have to be together all the time. Ahem, Her Majesty is such a virtuous empress, Zhao Su said, then left. Ning Shu stared at Zhao Su's back and rolled her eyes. Your Majesty. Qiling looked at Ning Shu in resignation. Ning Shu cracked his neck. It's time to prepare for the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet. Make sure everything is in order. He didn't expect Zhou Xiaoyi to be released again this Mid-Autumn Festival banquet. After all, Zhao Su was the one who missed her. He could put her back in the cage when she was released, and he would put her back in the cage when she was out. Before the Mid-Autumn Festival, all the concubines and concubines were very busy. When they had nothing to do, they would hang around in front of Ning Shu and complain that their clothes were old and their jewelry was missing. Ning Shu asked the Uniform Bureau to make some clothes for the concubines in the palace. Only then did these concubines shift their attention and busy themselves with new clothes, new jewelry, or diligently rehearse their dance, striving to show their faces in front of Zhao Su and gain his favor. The entire imperial harem was busy anyway. On the 15th day of the lunar month, the banquet was splendid. It was ablaze with lights, toasts, wine, and beautiful women. Ning Shu and Zhao Su sat at the head of the table. Below them were rows of seats for the concubines, and in the middle were dancers. Ning Shu glanced at Zhou Xiaoyi. Zhou Xiaoyi was very pretty. Because of her status, Zhou Xiaoyi's seat was toward the back. Right now, she was sitting there in her own world, which was very elegant. She would take a sip of fruit wine every now and then, and her cheeks would blush a little. She looked like a drunk beauty. Ning Shu noticed that Zhao Su would look at Zhou Xiaoyi from time to time. Although she was sitting at the back, Zhou Xiaoyi's beauty and drunken stupidity made her stand out. When the noble consort saw Zhou Xiaoyi acting like this, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. No matter what, the noble consort couldn't stand Zhou Xiaoyi. She was glad that she didn't cooperate with this person. What cooperation? With Zhou Xiaoyi like this, she wouldn't even be able to drink the soup. The noble consort was from a family of generals, so she couldn't act like Zhou Xiaoyi. At this time, a group of dancers slowly walked in. The sound of bamboo instruments rang out in the hall. The dancers swayed their long sleeves gracefully. Zhou Xiaoyi, this fruit wine is really so delicious. We saw that you drank several cups. Zhao Su asked Zhou Xiaoyi. Zhou Xiaoyi turned to look at Zhao Su in a daze. Her face was flushed, and her charming eyes were like silk. She quickly stood up. This concubine has never drunk this kind of fruit wine before. Zhao Su couldn't help but laugh. Drink less. This wine is sweet, but it has a strong aftertaste. Zhou Xiaoyi smiled brightly. This concubine understands. Host, attention. There is an assassin in the crowd. Please be prepared to save the host, the beloved consort system said. Chapter 982. When Zhou Xiaoyi heard the system say that the assassin was among the dancers, she instantly became nervous. She swept her eyes over the dancers, wanting to see which one was the assassin. Zhou Xiaoyi saw that she was quite far away from Zhao Su. Even if something happened, she wouldn't be able to help in time. So she picked up the wine cup on the table and walked towards the main seat. Ignoring the strange gazes of the others, she raised her cup towards Zhao Su and Ning Shu. Qinxia toasts Emperor and Empress, wishing Emperor and Empress good luck. Zhao Su's expression looked very happy. She teased, it looks like Zhen has to drink this cup of wine. As Zhao Su spoke, she took a sip of the wine cup. Ning Shu had a smile on his face as he took a sip. After the two leaders drank, Zhou Xiaoyi drank the entire cup of fruit wine. Zhao Su couldn't help but say, drink slower, aren't you afraid of getting drunk after drinking so much? Emperor, Pinky won't fall even after 1,000 cups. Zhou Xiaoyi's words were a bit tongue-tied. Huh, still stubborn. Zhao Su narrowed her eyes, her gaze sweeping over Zhou Xiaoyi's bright red face. The other Fapin saw Zhou Xiaoyi toast like this and all said that the emperor was biased and wanted to toast Zhao Su. Zhao Su raised her cup, good, everyone toast. Zhen will drink this cup. Zhao Su's expression was high-spirited. Looking around, the beauties in the hall were all for him to take. Outside the hall was his country. This was the life of a man. When Zhao Su tilted her head back to drink, the dancer pulled out a dagger and charged at Zhao Su. Zhou Xiaoyi had been paying attention to the dancer. Seeing this scene, she immediately screamed, "Emperor, watch out." Then she righteously rushed up to block the dagger for Zhao Su. Almost in an instant, Ning Shu grabbed Zhao Su's arm and pulled Zhao Su away from the seat. Then he secretly hooked Zhou Xiaoyi's ankle with his foot and sent Zhou Xiaoyi into the assassin's dagger. In a flash, before anyone could react, they heard the sound of the dagger stabbing into flesh. "Protect the Emperor, protect the Emperor!" The Gongong's sharp voice shouted. Immediately, guards came in. Pft, cough cough cough. Zhao Su was drinking when he was suddenly pulled by Ning Shu. The wine went into his nose, and his nose was so sore that tears came out. The dancer saw that she didn't hit the target and another guard came in. She panicked and pulled out the dagger stuck in Zhou Xiaoyi's body. She reached out and tied Zhou Xiaoyi's arm. "Don't come over. If you come any closer, I'll kill her." Zhou Xiaoyi's face was deathly pale. She had been stabbed in the back and was in great pain. Now, she was being held hostage. Zhou Xiaoyi was dumbfounded. The plot should not have developed this way. She was supposed to be the one standing in front of Zhao Su and saving him. How did she become the one being kidnapped? "How dare you? Who are you? How dare you try to assassinate me?" Zhao Su looked at the dancer coldly. Ning Shu held Zhao Su's wrist and checked her pulse. Zhao Su's body was very healthy, but infertility had nothing to do with health. People with infertility were very healthy and were no different from normal people. However, Zhao Su's heart was beating very fast. It was obvious that Zhao Su was still scared. "Empress, I'm fine. Let me go." Zhao Su turned to Ning Shu. His face was very ugly, and he looked at Ning Shu with suspicion. Ning Shu ignored Zhao Su's gaze and said with fear, "It's good that your majesty is fine. It's good that you're fine. Dog Emperor, I only hate that I didn't kill you. You fatuous ruler." The dancer shouted at Zhao Su with a ferocious expression. "You killed dozens of people in my Qi family. My father was wronged. I can't accept that I couldn't kill a tyrant like you." The dancer was very emotional. The dagger was pressed against Zhou Xiaoyi's neck and cut open the skin. Blood seeped out. Zhou Xiaoyi's face became even paler. The pain in her back, the disappointment of her plan failing, and the punishment of the system, and now that she was being held hostage, her life was in danger. Fear, disappointment, pain, all kinds of emotions flooded Zhou Xiaoyi's heart. It was like her heart was being burned in a pot of oil. Would the emperor care about a little 7th-rank Xiaoyi like her? Zhou Xiaoyi looked at Ning Shu. If the empress hadn't pulled the emperor away, she would have been the one to save the emperor. Ning Shu naturally noticed Zhou Xiaoyi's gaze. She looked at him with anger and unwillingness. Ning Shu sneered in his heart. If you had the skill to hold someone and block a knife, you could have just pulled them away. What was there to block? Crazy. She was lying in his arms dripping with blood. If he didn't bleed, he couldn't save her. Crazy. Did pulling her away take longer than rushing into his arms to block a knife? Crazy. Ning Shu shouted at the dancer with a serious expression, "Bold assassin, let go of Zhou Xiaoyi. Quickly capture her. Even if I let her go, this fatuous ruler won't let her go. Zhao Su, you dog emperor, you killed my entire family. I only hate that I didn't kill you today." The dancer looked at Zhao Su with bloodshot eyes. Zhao Su's expression was cold. He didn't take the dancer's words to heart. His expression was one of disdain and arrogance. Which emperor hadn't exterminated their entire family? Do you know what your father has done? A harem woman doesn't know anything and wants revenge. Zhao Su coldly said, "Capture her. Don't come over." Zhao Su, you really are a cold-hearted person. Do you not care about your concubine's life? The dancer's expression changed. You kill ministers when you want to. You don't have any mercy. You are a tyrant. If the dog emperor was killed, she would be willing to die. But the dog emperor's skin wasn't even scratched. She wasn't willing to die like this. Zhao Su didn't speak, but his attitude was firm. Zhou Xiaoyi's face was as white as paper and her heart was cold. Was Zhao Su going to give up on her now? Even if it was a mission from the doting concubine system, she still didn't hesitate to block a knife for him. He was giving up on her now. Zhou Xiaoyi's tears fell as she looked dazedly at Zhao Su. Zhao Su swept a glance over Zhou Xiaoyi and then looked away. Don't hurt Zhou Xiaoyi. Zhao Su calmly instructed the guard. Zhou Xiaoyi's heart was filled with ridicule and grief. This kind of person was unreliable. She could only rely on herself to save herself. Zhou Xiaoyi begged the doting concubine system, is there any way to help me get out of danger? Because she had lost too much blood, Zhou Xiaoyi felt cold all over. Moreover, the two bodies were pressed together, pressing against her wound. Zhou Xiaoyi was in great pain. Lightning strike. When the two of you are close together, you can transfer energy to her body. She will also feel the lightning strike. The doting concubine system said coldly. Zhou Xiaoyi, at this moment, Zhou Xiaoyi didn't know what she was feeling. That feeling of wanting to cry but having no tears was indescribable. Chapter 983. She was injured and was struck by lightning. Zhou Xiaoyi felt that the heavens were playing with her. Zhou Xiaoyi looked at the cold Zhao Su. She felt the blade cut through her skin and the pain in her back. All kinds of emotions surged into Zhou Xiaoyi's heart. All right. Zhou Xiaoyi closed her eyes and welcomed the lightning. Even though Zhou Xiaoyi was prepared, the lightning passed from the top of her head to her entire body. The taste of iron came out of her mouth and she couldn't stop her saliva from flowing out. All the cells in her body felt like they were being torn apart. Zhou Xiaoyi closed her eyes and fainted. Ah! The dancer behind Zhou Xiaoyi was scared by the sudden electric shock and screamed. The dagger fell to the ground and one of her legs suddenly lost feeling. She fell to the ground and was pressed down by Zhou Xiaoyi. Her entire body twitched and white foam came out of her mouth. The dancer groaned in pain and her eyes rolled back. She was immediately restrained by the guards. This sudden change caused the concubines and palace maids in the hall to be dumbfounded. Their expressions were blank and they couldn't understand what had happened. Ning Shu reached out and grabbed Zhao Su's arm. He tightly squeezed Zhao Su's arm. Zhao Su was in pain and almost couldn't maintain his expression. Your Majesty, could it be that someone used some kind of witchcraft? How did he fall down? Ning Shu said with some fear. Hearing Ning Shu say this, Zhao Su felt the hairs on his back stand up. Zhao Su's cold face swept over the concubines and palace maids in the hall who were at a loss. He then looked at the unconscious Zhou Xiaoyi on the ground and the twitching dancer who was being dragged away by the guards. Ning Shu trembled and stuck close to Zhao Su. Emperor, is there a ghost? Don't talk about strange things. Zhao Su said coldly. Yes, Qinxia is not afraid. Ning Shu said with a trembling voice. Zhao Su narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhou Xiaoyi on the ground with an indescribable expression. Hurry and help Zhou Xiaoyi back to Yingyu Palace. Zhou Xiaoyi is still injured. Ning Shu turned to Zhuang Fei and said, hurry and take Zhou Xiaoyi back. Yes, yes. Zhuang Fei said in a panic. She had her maid and Zhou Xiaoyi's maid take Zhou Xiaoyi back to Yingyu Palace. Ning Shu stabilized the chaotic situation and said to Zhao Su, Emperor, do you want to go to Yingyu Palace to see Zhou Xiaoyi? Zhou Xiaoyi was injured to save Emperor. Fortunately, the assassin convulsed on his own, Ning Shu said. Zhao Su's expression was deep. After a while, he said, let's go take a look at Yinghua Palace. I'll go with you. Ning Shu said in a hurry. He then turned to Qiuling and said, go get me my precious ginseng. It might be useful. Yes. Qiuling hurried back to Changqiu Palace to get her things. Ning Shu followed Zhao Su to Yinghua Palace. There were several imperial physicians in Yuqiong Garden, and basin after basin of blood was brought out to wipe the wounds. Emperor, Zhou Xiaoyi will be fine. Ning Shu comforted Zhao Su. Ning Shu, why did it sound like Zhou Xiaoyi was giving birth in there? Zhao Su didn't look happy. He turned to Ning Shu and said, Your Majesty, I asked you to make arrangements for the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet. Why did the assassin appear among the dancers? Ning Shu's expression changed and she hurriedly bowed, Your Majesty, please forgive me. It was this concubine's negligence that startled Your Majesty. However, this dancer has always been a member of the palace. This concubine didn't know how the dancer became an assassin. The dancers' names are on the register. Your Majesty, now that the assassin has been caught, we can interrogate him to see if he has any accomplices. I'm relieved that Your Majesty is safe, Ning Shu said in a frightened voice. Zhao Su rubbed his forehead and reached out to hold Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu fought back the urge to shake off Zhao Su's hand. How can the Empress take care of so many people in the inner palace by herself? It's hard to avoid carelessness. I don't blame you. Zhao Su said, these people are very well hidden. Ning Shu was very grateful. Thank you, Your Majesty. I've failed Your Majesty's trust. Fuck, he was clearly suspecting her. The Tai came out of the room. Zhao Su asked, how is Zhou Xiaoyi? The bleeding has stopped. The nurse said that although the wound is deep, it's not fatal. Zhou Xiaoyi's life is not in danger. The Tai cupped his hands and said. Hearing that Zhou Xiaoyi's life wasn't in danger, Zhao Su's face didn't show any joy. Ning Shu let out a breath and said, although the wound will leave a scar, at least she's alive. Will Your Majesty come with me to see Zhou Xiaoyi? Ning Shu turned to ask Zhao Su. Zhao Su said lightly, I'm going to see the dancers and interrogate them to see if they have any accomplices. The Empress can just take a look at Zhou Xiaoyi for me. Zhao Su left after saying this. Ning Shu glanced at Zhao Su. He was just a cold and emotionless man. How could a man in this position not have true feelings? He could have any woman he wanted. So Zhou Xiaoyi was very proud that Zhao Su had scattered the inner palace for her and obtained the love of an emperor. They would be together for the rest of their lives. Ning Shu twisted his lips and walked into the room. He saw the nurse bandaging Zhou Xiaoyi's wound. Because the wound was on her back, Zhou Xiaoyi was lying on the bed. Zhou Xiaoyi's eyes were tightly closed. Her face was ashen, but her features were delicate and beautiful. The beloved consort system had slightly adjusted Zhou Xiaoyi's facial features. Her appearance didn't change, but she was prettier than before. As for the dancer assassin suddenly fainting and twitching, Ning Shu felt that it was Zhou Xiaoyi's doing. Now Zhao Su wasn't just suspicious of her. He was also suspicious of Zhou Xiaoyi, who had blocked the knife. Also, the dancer assassin had suddenly lost the ability to resist. Anyone would be suspicious. Now, although Zhou Xiaoyi had escaped a disaster, a seed of suspicion had been planted in Zhao Su's heart. She hadn't been able to save the emperor and had injured herself. This injury wasn't worth it at all. Most importantly, if she was injured, she wouldn't be able to sleep. From Ning Shu's point of view, Zhou Xiaoyi's actions this time weren't worth the loss. Now, Zhou Xiaoyi wasn't infinitely favored. She didn't have a deep impression in Zhao Su's heart. Saving the emperor wouldn't make much of a difference. For Zhou Xiaoyi to be so reckless, it was most likely a mission from the system. But the system was taking things for granted. It probably knew that there was an assassin, so it designed the play of saving the emperor in order to maximize the benefits. But if one of the links went wrong, the consequences would be different. And Zhou Xiaoyi was a puppet. She was like a string of data running around to execute the system's orders. Ning Shu's face was pale. He said to the noble consort in a daze, "Zhou Xiaoyi is someone in your palace. Take good care of her." Ah! The noble consort turned her head to look at Ning Shu in a daze. Then, she said, "I understand." Ning Shu glanced at Zhou Xiaoyi on the bed, then turned and left. The noble consort followed closely behind Ning Shu out of the room. "Nyang Nyang, do you think that Zhou Xiaoyi is a demon or a vixen?" The reason why she fainted was because she expended her magic power. Otherwise, why would that assassin start twitching? Zhuang Fei asked Ning Shu for confirmation. Ning Shu. This imagination. Chapter 984. Zhou Xiaoyi didn't wake up until 3 days later. Ning Shu gave her some tonics and told her to take good care of herself. Maybe it was because Zhou Xiaoyi had lost too much blood that her brain was short of oxygen, for she stared at the ceiling after waking up. Ning Shu told Qiling to put down the things and was about to leave. "Your Majesty, aren't you tired?" Zhou Xiaoyi turned around and looked at Ning Shu. "I'm afraid you hate me so much, but you have to pretend to be virtuous and tolerant. Are you really going to let other women share your husband?" Ning Shu smiled. "Zhou Xiaoyi, what are you trying to say? You're hurt by His Majesty. In his heart, we are nothing. He can abandon us just because he wants to." Tears welled up in Zhou Xiaoyi's eyes. None of the women in the imperial harem were as precious as Zhao Su's finger. This was the real imperial harem. The emperor was heartless and the concubines had to fight among themselves. Even with the system of favoring his concubines, it was still very difficult for her to survive in the imperial harem. Ning Shu wanted to roll his eyes. TSK, TSK, TSK. She was treating him like an idiot. It was just that the man didn't love her as much as she thought. It was as if she had been hurt. They didn't have true feelings for each other. They were just the same. Who would take the other seriously when it comes to playing games? All the women in the imperial harem belonged to the emperor. Zhao Su wouldn't miss the women in the imperial harem if they died. Those who couldn't get would always be in a commotion, while those who were favored would always be fearless. Now she was being so pretentious that her heart was hurt. Who was she trying to impress? "We're dependent on His Majesty. We should take good care of ourselves," Ning Shu said indifferently. All the women in the imperial harem were Zhao Su's subordinates. They couldn't even be treated as equals. How could they talk about love in front of His Majesty? Zhou Xiaoyi snorted. What a fucked up world. Ning Shu pursed his lips. Every world was fucked up. The only difference was whether you were strong or not. It was very stupid to put your fate in someone else's hands. How terrifying was it for others to be able to control one's own fate? Right now, Zhou Xiaoyi was only angry at her own incompetence. If she had succeeded in saving the emperor this time, she would not be so self-pitying. Instead, she would happily welcome a new round of favor. Zhou Xiaoyi was the perfect woman created by the beloved concubine system for Zhao Su. She was talented, beautiful, and deeply in love with him. As for whether Zhou Xiaoyi loved Zhao Su or not, maybe she didn't, maybe she did. Who knew? Therefore, Ning Shu felt disgusted when he saw Zhou Xiaoyi acting like a victim. Take good care of yourself. Ning Shu turned around and left. Empress, Ning Shu turned around, looked at Zhou Xiaoyi, and asked, Nyang Nyang, did His Majesty say something? After the banquet, His Majesty was busy interrogating the assassins. This consort didn't get to see His Majesty. Ning Shu's expression was serious. What you need to do now is to recuperate. When Zhou Xiaoyi heard Ning Shu's words, her face became even paler. She looked a little disheartened. The mission to save the emperor failed. The punishment will be death by 1,000 cuts. It will now be carried out. The beloved concubine system's mechanical voice sounded. Zhou Xiaoyi's heart fiercely spasmed. Even if it's a punishment, can it wait for a while? Wait until my injuries are healed. I really can't take it. This matter is very disappointing. You even used up the system's energy. You must be punished. The beloved concubine system coldly said. No, ah. Zhou Xiaoyi instantly felt as if her body was no longer hers. Her flesh and blood were being cut by countless knives. There was also the pain of the knives scraping against her bones. In an instant, a world-destroying pain assaulted Zhou Xiaoyi, causing her pupils to dilate. Her entire body was drenched in sweat. The blood flowing from the wound on her back soaked her clothes. Zhou Xiaoyi didn't even have the chance to faint. She could only passively endure the endless pain. Zhou Xiaoyi's entire body was drenched in sweat. Her face was ashen. She opened her mouth and breathed rapidly. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. She begged the system in her heart for mercy. Let me go. I will definitely complete the mission. It hurts, it hurts. Then just kill me. Even if the emperor doesn't kill me, I will be tortured to death by you. I might as well die. Zhou Xiaoyi angrily roared. Since you want to leave the system, then leave. The beloved concubine system coldly said. Don't leave. Zhou Xiaoyi immediately softened. Subconsciously, she was very dependent on the beloved concubine system. Although she hated the system for being so cold to her. But if the system really left, Zhou Xiaoyi would definitely be at a loss. It had always been the system that told her to fight. Without the system giving out missions, Zhou Xiaoyi would be at a loss. In this harem, Zhou Xiaoyi was counting on the beloved concubine system. In reality, under the system's reward and punishment, Zhou Xiaoyi had already been enslaved by the system. After enduring the death by 1,000 cuts with great difficulty, Zhou Xiaoyi directly fainted and lost consciousness. After Ning Shu left Yingyu Palace, a palace made from Long Autumn Palace said that the emperor was waiting for him there. Ning Shu returned to Long Autumn Palace and saw Zhao Su drinking tea. He bowed and asked, Emperor, why have you come at this time? Where did the empress go? Zhao Su put down her teacup and looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu sighed and said, Zhou Xiaoyi woke up. I went to see Zhou Xiaoyi. After all, Zhou Xiaoyi was injured because she tried to save the emperor. I have to go see her no matter what. Is she better? Zhao Su asked indifferently. Her expression was calm. Ning Shu nodded. She's awake now. Does the emperor want to go see her? Ning Shu asked. No need. Just have the imperial physician treat her. Yes. Ning Shu nodded. This was something he had expected. Empress, Zhen wants to dismiss all the dancers in the palace. The palace no longer keeps dancers, Zhao Su said. Ning Shu didn't have any objections. The women in the harem were all reserved concubines for Zhao Su, including the dancers. But there was a problem, Your Majesty, dismiss all the dancers. If there's an important banquet that requires dancing and dancing, what will we do if there are no dancers in the palace? It'll be even more dangerous if outside dancers are allowed in. I think we should investigate the dancers' identities again. If there's a problem, release them, Ning Shu said. Zhao Su thought for a moment, then nodded. That's a problem. As the monarch of a country, if I can't even bring out a dancer when a foreign country comes to congratulate me, it'll be embarrassing. Zhen will have someone do that, Zhao Su said Ning Shu. You were also frightened at the banquet. Rest well, Empress. This was supposed to be a matter for the harem, but Zhao Su found someone to do it. He just didn't trust her. Ning Shu nodded. I thank Your Majesty for your concern. Your Majesty should also take good care of your body. Zhao Su stood up and walked 2 steps. She turned her head and said to Ning Shu, "Give Zhou Xiaoyi something." Chapter 985. Ning Shu heard that Zhao Su wanted her to give Zhou Xiaoyi something. What was that supposed to mean? She had to give Zhou Xiaoyi something out of her own pocket? What a miser! Ning Shu asked Zhao Su, "Your Majesty, why don't you give Zhou Xiaoyi something in person? Zhou Xiaoyi will be very happy. She hopes that your Majesty will visit her." "I'm not an imperial physician. What's the point of visiting her? I'm the ruler of the country and I have endless government affairs to deal with," Zhao Su said unhappily. "It's the same whether you give her something or I give it to her." Damn, that was heartless. At the end of the day, it was because Zhao Su was suspicious of Zhou Xiaoyi. Ning Shu rose to her feet and bowed, looking terrified. "I'm sorry. I'll send something to Zhou Xiaoyi later." "Don't worry, Your Majesty." "Your Majesty, I've been a little annoyed lately." Zhao Su rubbed her forehead. "Your Majesty, I'm fine. Please take care of yourself." Ning Shu couldn't control her urge to roll her eyes. "You're so impatient and you're so angry, but I can only endure it and can't fight back." Zhao Su left with a flick of her sleeves. Ning Shu stretched his neck and said to Qiuling, "Tell them to make 2 sets of jewelry for Zhou Xiaoyi." "Your Majesty, are you all right?" Qiuling looked at Ning Shu worriedly. "I'm fine." "Get back to work," Ning Shu said indifferently. Ning Shu originally thought that Zhou Xiaoyi would have to rest for at least 2 months before she recovered. Unexpectedly, she had struggled to get up and come to Long Autumn Palace to thank her in half a month. Ning Shu told her to rest, but Zhou Xiaoyi insisted on coming to thank the Empress. Ning Shu. What an amazing recovery ability. The noble consort was the first to run to the Long Autumn Palace early in the morning. The noble consort moved closer to Ning Shu's ear and said with a panicked expression, "Nyang Nyang, Qinxia said that Zhou Xiaoyi is a vixen. She was able to get out of bed after 10 days in the Yingyue Palace. How can a normal person recover so quickly?" Qinxia's hand was cut by the hairpin. "It will take 10 days to half a month. She was stabbed so big, but she recovered so quickly. If she's not a monster, what is she?" Zhuang Fei had a mysterious look on her face. Ning Shu was speechless. "Don't talk nonsense. If the emperor hears you, he will scold you again." The noble consort curled her lips and said, "Your Highness, that vixen will be here soon. You'll know when you see her. Her face is ruddy. She doesn't look like an injured person at all." "All right, sit down," Ning Shu said snappily. When it was time to pay their respects, the concubines filed in and lined up neatly to pay their respects to Ning Shu. "Sit down." Ning Shu looked at Zhou Xiaoyi, who was at the end of the line. Although her complexion wasn't as ruddy as the noble consort said, Zhou Xiaoyi's complexion was still pretty good compared to someone who was injured and lost blood. "Why don't you rest more? After all, you're so seriously injured?" Ning Shu asked Zhou Xiaoyi. Zhou Xiaoyi stood up. "Although my body isn't well, this concubine still wants to pay respects to your Highness and thank your Highness for your kindness. This concubine is endlessly grateful for your Highness' care for this concubine. This concubine will remember this in her heart." Ning Shu, was she saying sarcastic words? "You were injured while saving the emperor. You should be rewarded. Your body should rest a bit more. If you need any medicine, go to the imperial hospital and the imperial physicians to prescribe it," Ning Shu said with a smile, carrying the elegant and virtuous appearance of the empress. "This concubine thanks your Highness for your grace." Zhou Xiaoyi bowed to Ning Shu. "Sit down. Don't bow so easily when you're injured," Ning Shu said generously. Zhou Xiaoyi sat down. These concubines chatted and said a few amusing words or flattered her, the Empress. Ning Shu drank tea and listened to these people talk. Some of the concubines didn't get along with each other, so their words were like needles hidden in silk. Ning Shu watched as if he was watching a drama. "Alright, you can all go back," Ning Shu's concubine said. They hadn't eaten breakfast yet, so they were starving to death. "Yes." The concubines bowed to Ning Shu and left. The group of people left Long Autumn Palace and met Zhao Su at the entrance. When they saw Zhao Su, the concubines' eyes instantly lit up, like wolves seeing meat. Ever since the assassination, Zhao Su rarely entered the harem. The other concubines were about to bow to Zhao Su in an enchanting manner, but Zhou Xiaoyi's eyes rolled back and she fainted, falling to the ground with a thump. "Xiaoyi, what's wrong?" The maid beside Zhou Xiaoyi shouted. Zhao Su raised her eyebrows and walked in front of Zhou Xiaoyi. She bent down slightly and stared at Zhou Xiaoyi's face. Her eyes scanned Zhou Xiaoyi's face inch by inch. Then she said to the eunuch beside her, "Send Zhou Xiaoyi back to Yingyue Palace." Then Zhao Su walked around Zhou Xiaoyi and left. The other concubines were unhappy that Zhou Xiaoyi had used this method to attract Zhao Su's attention, but Zhao Su didn't pay any attention to them and left. The concubines covered their mouths with handkerchiefs and laughed. Then they left in twos and threes, looking back at the unconscious Zhou Xiaoyi from time to time. Zhou Xiaoyi felt wronged. She really had fainted. In order to prevent Zhao Su from seeing any clues, Zhou Xiaoyi had directly used the beloved concubine system to knock herself out. Zhao Su walked into the room. Ning Shu asked, "Why did you have Zhou Xiaoyi come to pay respects and faint at the door?" "Faint?" Ning Shu was dumbfounded. "I told her to rest well and she said she was fine." "Why did she faint?" "Don't worry about her." Zhao Su sat down and Ning Shu said, "I asked the Imperial Academy of Medicine to prescribe some nourishing medicine for the concubines. I'm not young anymore and I still don't have an heir. Those ministers are starting to have complaints. You'll have to work harder." "It's my duty." Damn it, she felt like an old maid. The harem was so trivial that she had to care about everything. What a terrible life. Zhao Su reached out and took Ning Shu's hand. "I'm so lucky to have an empress like Zidong." Ning Shu really wanted to pull out her hand and slap Zhao Su's face. Every time she asked someone to do something, he would say something disgusting and emotional. Could she not say that? Ning Shu just couldn't stand it. Ning Shu lowered his head. "It's my duty." Zhao Su left after telling Ning Shu to prepare some nourishing medicine for the concubines. Then she went to Yuqiong Garden in Yingyue Palace that night. Ning Shu was baffled when Qiuling told him that Zhao Su went to see Zhou Xiaoyi. Could Zhou Xiaoyi sleep with her now? He had no idea what Zhao Su was thinking. Ning Shu was surprised, but Zhou Xiaoyi was pleasantly surprised. She thought that the way she fainted had caught Zhao Su's attention. She hadn't seen Zhao Su for almost 2 months since the last time she slept with her. Finally, she saw her again. They sat around the table and Zhou Xiaoyi kept putting food on Zhao Su's plate. After being punished by the system several times, Zhou Xiaoyi was very afraid of punishment mode. She had to beg for something from Zhao Su, so she was very humble. Zhao Su raised an eyebrow and asked, "How are you feeling?" "I'm almost recovered." Zhou Xiaoyi smiled brightly, which made her look so beautiful that Zhao Su's eyes lit up. Chapter 986. Zhao Su narrowed his eyes. He stared at Zhou Xiaoyi's face and smiled. "Your body healed this quickly." Zhao Su picked up some food and placed it on the plate in front of Zhou Xiaoyi. "If it's not healed, don't force yourself. Take care of yourself." Zhou Xiaoyi put down her chopsticks and twirled in a circle. She flipped her sleeves and was like a fairy dancing in a jade pool. "Emperor, do you think Pinky is alright?" Zhou Xiaoyi stopped. "Everyone's body is different. Pinky is a cockroach that can't be killed. Cockroach that can't be killed? Zhao Su slightly tilted his head. What is that? A type of insect that has a strong vitality. It's a cockroach. Zhou Xiaoyi said. Then she realized that it really was the time to eat. What cockroach? She really didn't have good eyesight. The more she cared, the easier it was to make a mistake. Zhou Xiaoyi changed the topic. Emperor, Pinky will dance for you. Zhou Xiaoyi said as she moved her body. To be honest, Zhou Xiaoyi's dance couldn't compare to a professional dancer at all. However, her figure was good and her temperament was good. Her dance was not bad. Zhou Xiaoyi twirled in a circle and fell into Zhao Su's arms. Zhao Su reached out and wrapped an arm around Zhou Xiaoyi's waist. Zhou Xiaoyi sat on Zhao Su's thigh and struggled to get up. Zhao Su's arm tightened and his other hand moved to Zhou Xiaoyi's chin, slightly lifting Zhou Xiaoyi's chin. Zhou Xiaoyi's eyes were filled with love as she stared at Zhao Su in a daze. Can your body take it? Zhao Su asked in a low voice. Zhou Xiaoyi shyly lowered her head. Pinky is fine. Zhao Su directly carried Zhou Xiaoyi to the bed. Zhou Xiaoyi wrapped her arms around Zhao Su's neck and leaned her head against Zhao Su's chest. She let out a sigh of relief and was very excited. They were finally going to escape their current predicament. The two took off their clothes. Zhao Su kissed Zhou Xiaoyi and reached out to Zhou Xiaoyi's back. He touched Zhou Xiaoyi's wound. There was a faint scar. This is the scar that was left for Zhen. Zhao Su turned Zhou Xiaoyi over and kissed the scar. Zhou Xiaoyi's body stiffened. Her voice was slightly nasal as she murmured, Emperor. Zhao Su stared at the wound with an indescribable expression. It was a beautiful night. The next day, when they were paying their respects, Ning Shu asked Zhou Xiaoyi directly, wasn't she feeling unwell? I heard that she fainted after leaving Long Autumn Palace. Why are you serving her now? The other concubines all looked unreconciled. They twisted their handkerchiefs and looked at Zhou Xiaoyi indignantly. Now that Zhou Xiaoyi was attending on her, she had some confidence in facing Ning Shu. She stood up and bowed. Concubine's body has almost recovered. Zhou Xiaoyi's physique is really good. The knife wound healed in half a month. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. Since your body has recovered, you should properly serve Emperor. Following Empress orders, Pinky will definitely serve His Majesty well and help His Majesty bear children. After saying this, Zhou Xiaoyi felt that all the anger she had suffered in the past had been vented. The Empress put on a dignified and virtuous appearance to cause trouble for others. As long as Zhao Su promoted her by one rank, even if it was just one rank, she would be rewarded with a famous weapon. With this help, her goal of being the most favored in the harem was getting closer and closer. She would slowly climb up. After attending on the bed, Zhou Xiaoyi's heart was filled with confidence. She felt that the future was beautiful. Ning Shu raised an eyebrow. She was just attending on the bed. What was she being so cocky for? She didn't believe a single word that a man said to a woman in bed. Ning Shu didn't think that Zhao Su didn't suspect Zhou Xiaoyi, especially after the matter of the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. Speaking of bearing children, His Majesty said that he has prepared nourishing soups for the concubines in each palace. In the future, His Majesty will come to the harem frequently. He will have the Tai take care of your bodies. Ning Shu said in the room. These concubines showed joy on their faces. They all said that they would take care of their bodies. At this time, they didn't care about Zhou Xiaoyi who had attended on the bed yesterday. In any case, Zhao Su would often come to the harem in the future. Even if they couldn't eat meat, they could drink soup. Zhou Xiaoyi pursed her lips and sat down. She glanced at Ning Shu sitting at the head. One day, she would be able to reach that position. She would be the most favored in the harem and be endlessly favored. Modern people with the system of favored concubines Could it be that they couldn't defeat these ancient women? Ning Shu let these concubines return to their respective palaces. They all left with smiles on their faces. The noble consort stayed behind and complained endlessly in Ning Shu's ear. Nyang Nyang, she only served on the bed for one night. Is she so arrogant that she doesn't put her majesty in her eyes? Ning Shu drank his tea and didn't say anything. He was thinking about Zhao Su's actions. Was Zhao Su really that thirsty to make a move on a patient? Or was Zhao Su captivated by Zhou Xiaoyi? He knew that it wouldn't be so easy to deal with. Beauty was a powerful weapon. Nyang Nyang, don't you think it's strange? Did Zhou Xiaoyi eat some kind of elixir? How could she recover so quickly? She was stabbed with a knife and can serve on the bed so quickly. If it's not an evil spirit, then she has an elixir. The noble consort's eyes turned back and forth. What elixir? Zhao Su walked in and asked with a raised eyebrow. The noble consort's expression changed and she quickly stood up to bow. Ning Shu smiled and asked, His Majesty left court so early today? It's not a big deal. Zhao Su sat down and took a sip of tea. What are you two talking about? Zhen only heard something about an elixir. The noble consort looked embarrassed. Qinxia didn't say anything. Zhen clearly heard it. You're not being honest. Tell me what it is. Zhao Su's face darkened. Zhen can't listen. Ning Shu smiled and said, the noble consort was just joking. She said that Zhou Xiaoyi was really blessed by the heavens. She was so seriously injured but recovered so quickly. She said that a deity gave Zhou Xiaoyi an elixir. The noble consort was stunned. She didn't say that, but she tactfully didn't say anything. An elixir? Zhao Su's hand that was holding the teacup paused. It's just nonsense. Zhou Xiaoyi said it herself. Her physique is good. It is very good, but women are weak. Zhou Xiaoyi has such a good physique. She will definitely be able to give birth to a healthy child for His Majesty. Ning Shu said with a faint smile. Zhao Su tapped the side of the teacup with her finger and thought for a while. Ning Shu said, Zhou Xiaoyi saved the emperor. Give her a promotion. Ning Shu was speechless. Zhou Xiaoyi's body was really an aphrodisiac. Once touched, it was impossible to stop. Had Zhao Su already begun to be conquered by Zhou Xiaoyi? Ning Shu was still able to control his expression, but the noble consort immediately revealed a displeased expression. However, she immediately lowered her head and twirled her handkerchief in her fingers. What position does His Majesty want to give Zhou Xiaoyi? Ning Shu asked Zhao Su. Right now, Zhou Xiaoyi is a Xiaoyi of the 7th rank of Shu. Above her is the 7th rank of Shu. She is a beauty. Zhao Su thought for a moment and said. Skip the 7th rank of Shu and go to the 7th rank of Shu. She will be conferred the title of noble lady. Another 2 ranks. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Fu Wanhui's position as empress would be given to Zhou Xiaoyi, no, noble lady Zhou. Chapter 987. Zhou Xiaoyi has done a meritorious deed in saving the emperor. She deserves this reward. Ning Shu said without changing her expression. Zhao Su shook her head. The one who saved Zhen was the empress. If the empress hadn't pulled Zhen away, Zhen would have been injured. Zhen doesn't even know how to reward Zidong. Ning Shu shook his head. The emperor and his wife are one. As long as the emperor is well, Qinxia will be at ease. Zhao Su had a gratified smile on her face. She chatted with Ning Shu and the noble consort for a while before leaving. Nyang Nyang. As soon as Zhao Su left, the noble consort wailed to Ning Shu. Why is Zhou Xiaoyi so expensive? Just by sleeping with the emperor, she's promoted by 2 ranks. When Qinxia first entered the palace, I was just a concubine. Even now, I'm still just a concubine. The noble consort was indignant. Which concubine in the harem is like her? Ning Shu took a sip of tea and said indifferently, she saved the emperor, but you didn't. If Qinxia had known, Qinxia would have practiced martial arts at home. Grandfather always said that Qinxia was a girl and didn't need to practice martial arts. If Qinxia had practiced martial arts, Qinxia would have been able to save the emperor in the future. The noble consort twisted her handkerchief. When Qinxia sees Zhou Xiaoyi in the future, she's noble lady Zhou now. Ning Shu interrupted the noble consort. It's useless for you to shout at me. Have the emperor go to your palace. The noble consort pursed her lips. Going to Qinxia's palace is also going to Yuqiong court. The news that Zhou Xiaoyi had been made a noble lady spread throughout the harem. Everyone was shocked by the speed of Zhou Xiaoyi's promotion. At most, she jumped 4 ranks in 2 months. This kind of favor had never been enjoyed by a concubine before. Many concubines ran to Ning Shu to ask if this was true. Ning Shu only said that it was an edict from the emperor. Many people's eyes were red with jealousy, but there was nothing they could do. Noble Lady Zhou also received a system notification. Completed 2 months of promotion points. Reward, a masterpiece. Now transforming the body. Zhou Guiran immediately felt a warmth in his body, especially in his abdomen. Something was moving slightly and wriggling for a while before stopping. Remodeling complete. Host, please continue to work hard. Crown the imperial harem. Issue a mission to have the emperor favor you for 3 consecutive days, the favored concubine system said mechanically. 3 days. Fortunately, it wasn't 7 days. Last night had already been 1 day, so there were still 2 days left. If Xiao Su came again tonight, he would let him experience the famous artifact. He heard that it could make men particularly infatuated, so he wouldn't be afraid that he wouldn't come again in the future. Imperial concubine Zhou waited for Xiao Su to arrive. After dark, a eunuch came to inform Imperial concubine Zhou to prepare to receive Xiao Su. Noble Lady Zhou was delighted. She felt that her luck had improved recently. Everything was going smoothly. Noble Lady Zhou washed herself up, and after everything was done, Xiao Su came over in the carriage. Xiao Su looked at her flushed face and smelled like she had just come out of the bath. He always felt that this woman was more charming. Just looking at her made him feel restless. Xiao Su narrowed her eyes as she looked at noble Lady Zhou who was bowing towards her. She said teasingly, "My beloved concubine smells very good." Noble Lady Zhou's face was hot. "Has the emperor eaten yet?" "I'm here to eat." Xiao Su pulled noble Lady Zhou into his arms and took a deep breath. Noble Lady Zhou smiled sweetly as she held Xiao Su's fingers and pulled him to the side of the bed. Xiao Su smiled as he pressed down on noble Lady Zhou. After a round of foreplay, Xiao Su entered and felt that he was entangled. A fatal itch of excitement caused Xiao Su to surrender. Xiao Su was stunned. Her face darkened. She propped herself up on her arms and looked at the indescribably beautiful woman. What was wrong with this woman? He had never felt this way before. Xiao Su tried again, but this time it took a bit longer. It was very, very refreshing. After it was over, Xiao Su planned to leave. She didn't want to stay in Jade Court. Before she left, she looked at the scar on noble Lady Zhou's back. The scar was already very shallow. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. Xiao Su narrowed her eyes. Her face was dark. This wound healed very quickly. When Xiao Su got off the bed, her legs went soft. She felt like she had been squeezed dry. Unknowingly, she had done it a few more times. It was a bit over her body's limit. Xiao Su glanced at noble Lady Zhou, who was sleeping soundly on the bed and had fainted from exhaustion. Her face was so dark that it could drip water. The next morning, Noble Lady Zhou's legs were extremely sore and her body was about to fall apart. She had her maid go to the Empress to ask for leave. She didn't want to go pay respects. When the maid arrived at Long Autumn Palace, the hall was already filled with concubines. Facing so many people's gazes, the maid nervously said that Noble Lady Zhou wasn't feeling well and couldn't come pay respects. Ning Shu heard the maid's words and lightly said, "Let your noble lady have a good rest." "Nyang nyang, it's only the first day of becoming a noble lady and she's already like this. In the future, she will be incredible." Nyang nyang, Qinxia is puzzled. Why doesn't a noble lady like her come pay respects after serving in bed? That's right, these concubines spoke directly in front of the Jade Court's maid, causing the maid's face to turn red. Ning Shu waved his hand and dismissed the maid. The noble consort's face was particularly dark. Last night, there were two seductresses fighting in the middle of the night. Sleeping in bed, she could still hear the sounds of groaning in the Jade Court next door. The noble consort hadn't been favored for almost 2 months. This caused her little heart to feel like it was about to explode. She hated that vixen noble Lady Zhou to the bone. She even said that she wanted to cooperate. "Cooperate my ass." As expected, she couldn't even drink the soup. The noble consort said with a look of disdain, "I think that noble Lady Zhou is a vixen." After being kidnapped by an assassin, the assassin started foaming at the mouth like a fool. She was injured, but in less than 10 days, she was able to get out of bed and jump around. What is a vixen? A vixen that specializes in absorbing men's essence. Now that you mention it, it really does seem like it. Noble Lady Zhou is a vixen. I think that Noble Lady Zhou must have been possessed by a vixen. In the past, Noble Lady Zhou wasn't so beautiful, Consort Xian said. Could it be that the environment in the cold palace nourishes her? After staying in the cold palace for a while, she became beautiful. The other concubines joined in the conversation. One after another, they all said that Zhou Xiaoyi was a vixen. They brought up all kinds of evidence to prove that Noble Lady Zhou was a vixen. Ning Shu drank his tea and didn't stop these people from talking. When it was about time, he said, "The more you talk, the more outrageous it is. Noble Lady Zhou is a good person, but you guys are really talking about her. Magic? Did you see her use magic? This kind of thing is not allowed to be said again. The harem is not allowed to talk about this kind of thing. If the emperor blames us, we won't be able to bear it." Ning Shu looked at the noble consort. "Zhou Xiaoyi is a member of your palace. If you say that Zhou Xiaoyi is a vixen, do you have any face?" The noble consort pursed her lips. This concubine is telling the truth. This Zhou Xiaoyi is strange. Even if she isn't a vixen, she must be hiding secrets. This concubine has been in the palace for so long. Why hasn't this concubine become as beautiful? Ning Shu. Chapter 988. Noble Consort Zhuang really spared no effort to hurt Noble Lady Zhou. In the end, she was afraid that Noble Lady Zhou would seek revenge on her when she became rich. Noble Consort Zhuang felt that Noble Lady Zhou would not let her go, so she simply called her a vixen. It just so happened that the others did not like Noble Lady Zhou. Everyone had been dry for so long, but Noble Lady Zhou had received so much favor alone. Noble Consort Zhuang said that Noble Lady Zhou was a vixen, a monster, and the others all agreed. The more they said, the more they felt that Noble Lady Zhou was a vixen. Even if Ning Shu stopped them, although they did not say anything, they muttered in their hearts. Noble Lady Zhou served the emperor for 3 days in a row. The entire harem was boiling, and they all ran to Ning Shu to complain tearfully. Nyang nyang, Qinxia drank so much medicine, but the emperor did not come to Qinxia's palace. Nyang nyang, without the emperor, how can Qinxia have children? Nyang nyang, Noble Lady Zhou is a 7th-rank noble lady. How can she have so much rain and dew? The emperor wants to have both, Nyang Nyang, that noble Lady Zhou must be a vixen to have charmed the emperor to this extent, Ning Shu. Degree. Ning Shu's ears were filled with the buzzing of the concubines. He could only say that the emperor knew what was going on. The concubines made a fuss in front of Ning Shu in hopes that Ning Shu, as the empress, would punish noble Lady Zhou. However, Ning Shu was sitting steadily on Mount Tai, and these concubines were all listless. They increasingly felt that noble Lady Zhou was a vixen. The previous Zhao Su was not like this. He did not favor one person, and it was a noble lady. If her status was higher, he would not be so angry. Completed the task of serving the emperor for 3 days in a row. Rewarded with 800 Tang poems. Noble Lady Zhou was lying on the bed with her entire body sore. When she heard the system's voice, she immediately felt that something had been forcefully stuffed into her head. She felt uncomfortable for a while. 800 Tang poems. Noble Lady Zhou stretched lazily. In order to test the effects of the 800 Tang poems, noble Lady Zhou thought of plum blossoms. As a result, a poem about plum blossoms appeared in her mind, and it was very clear. She just had to read it out loud. Although she had learned many poems in the modern era, she had almost forgotten them all. She knew how to compose poems, and had a poetic temperament. So awesome. In the future, when he had nothing to do, he could compose poems and match Zhao Su's poems. Lian, it's time to pay respects to the empress. Help me up. Noble Lady Zhou stretched out her slender fingers. Each finger seemed to have been carefully polished from jade. Her pale pink fingernails, slender wrists, and jade-like skin caused the maids beside her to be dazzled. The servant girl hurriedly reached out to support Zhou Guiren. Compared to Zhou Guiren's hand, her hand appeared black and coarse. The servant girl wished she could retract her hand. Noble Lady Zhou glanced at her maid's hand and smiled faintly. It could be said that her skin was the best out of all the women in the harem. Her skin was smooth and flawless. No acne, no pimples, no pores, and no blemishes. Noble lady, Her Majesty the Empress said that noble lady must be tired from serving the Empress. You don't have to pay your respects. The maid lowered her head and said. Noble Lady Zhou smiled faintly. She sat in front of the dressing table and looked at the woman in the bronze mirror. She looked like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. Noble Lady Zhou touched her face with the back of her hand. She had never been so beautiful. In the modern world, she was just an ordinary white-collar worker. She wasn't that beautiful. After transmigrating, she had obtained beauty. Beauty that she dreamed of. As long as she was a woman, there was no one who didn't love beauty. When noble Lady Zhou heard that the maid didn't have to pay her respects, she didn't plan on going. It was good to have a famous artifact. Zhao Su had been pestering her for a long time. Noble Lady Zhou was a little proud. She had been suppressed too much previously. Now that she had turned the tables, she couldn't help but feel proud. After Zhao Su went to Jade Court for several days in a row, the harem was shrouded in waves of resentment. Noble consort Zhuang would run to Ning Shu and complain. Ning Shu could see that noble consort Zhuang was very anxious. According to this situation, noble Lady Zhou was likely to rise. When noble Lady Zhou had enough power, she would deal with her. Ning Shu comforted noble consort Zhuang. Don't worry. It's just a few days of favor. You have more favor than her. Nyang nyang. Noble consort Zhuang's expression was a little speechless. But Qinxie is not like noble Lady Zhou. Not to mention Qinxie, even you, the Empress, don't have such favor. This has never happened before. Alright, I know what to do. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and said lightly. Noble consort Zhuang looked at Ning Shu's calm appearance and could only suppress the anxiety in her heart. There was nothing more uncomfortable than seeing someone with a grudge rise step by step. Noble Lady Zhou's unprecedented favor caused undercurrents to surge in the harem. At the same time, the rumors that Noble Lady Zhou was a vixen spread throughout the palace. Ning Shu was furious because of this and punished the person who spread the rumors. However, the more taboo a rumor was, the more it was blocked and the more it spread. Moreover, the rumors were quite convincing. Some palace maids in the cold palace said that Noble Lady Zhou wasn't like this in the past. In any case, Noble Lady Zhou became the topic of eunuchs and palace maids whispering to each other. The more the rumors surged, the more Ning Shu suppressed them. Anyone in the harem who said that Noble Lady Zhou was a vixen or an evil spirit had their monthly salary deducted. Under Ning Shu's high-pressure policy, the palace temporarily calmed down. However, there were undercurrents surging, and there were many concubines pushing for it. There were also rumors that Ning Shu, the empress, was afraid of Noble Lady Zhou's favor and didn't dare to do anything to her. Moreover, the peerlessly beautiful Noble Lady Zhou would become the empress. Ning Shu just turned a blind eye and pretended not to know anything. Although Ning Shu suppressed this matter, it still spread. Rumors were like a virus. No one could stop it once it spread. Preventing the people from talking was more important than preventing the river from flowing. It was better to spread it out rather than block it. Later, even Zhao Su heard the news. In the main hall, the imperial censor even reported that he favored a noble lady too much. Favoritism could easily lead to problems. After court, Zhao Su went to Long Autumn Palace without even taking off his dragon robes. Ning Shu didn't even have time to bow before Zhao Su said coldly, "What's the matter with the rumors in the palace?" Zhao Su picked up his teacup and drank the entire cup of tea. He slammed the teacup on the table with a cold expression. Ning Shu bowed with a slightly fearful expression. "It's just some gossipy palace maids. Qinxia has already punished them several times. Please don't worry, Your Majesty." "Don't worry about what?" Zhao Su's expression was ugly. Everyone in the previous dynasty knows about this. What, is the harem not satisfied with Zhen favoring Noble Lady Zhou? Ning Shu lowered her body even more. "Your Majesty, Qinxia definitely didn't mean that. Your Majesty doesn't like to come to the harem. Now that Noble Lady Zhou can make Your Majesty relaxed, Qinxia isn't dissatisfied. Zitong, Zhen doesn't blame you." Zhao Su rubbed his forehead. Zhen left the harem to the empress to manage because Zhen trusted her. Qinxia has let Your Majesty down. Ning Shu lowered her head. "Damn, it wasn't me who slept with your woman. It was you who favored Noble Lady Zhou. That was unreasonable." Chapter 989. Ning Shu was particularly speechless. How could she control so many mouths in the harem? Whenever something happened, they came to find her. Ning Shu glanced at Zhao Su and said, "This matter is the palace maids and eunuchs gossiping. It's the matter of the assassin last time. Many people saw it. It's really rather strange, so these people are spreading it in private. Noble Lady Zhou was able to get out of bed in less than 10 days. These servants have not seen much of the world. Noble Lady Zhou recovered so quickly, there must be some good medicine. This concubine will definitely take good care of the harem and not let these palace servants spread rumors. She only injured her body, and her leg is broken so she can't get out of bed," Zhao Su said as she rubbed her forehead. Ning Shu nodded. "These people are just talking. They don't know the truth and are spreading it blindly. Noble Lady Zhou injured her body. She can't take off her clothes to show them the scars. These people think that Noble Lady Zhou was seriously injured and could get out of bed and walk so quickly. They find it very inconceivable." Ning Shu sighed as he spoke. Even the noble consort joked that an immortal gave Noble Lady Zhou celestial medicine so that she could recover so quickly. Ning Shu's expression was very helpless. Zhao Su's expression was heavy as she narrowed her eyes in deep thought. Zhen will go see noble Lady Zhou. Zhao Su stood up. Empress, investigate this matter carefully. This is the imperial palace, not a small tea house or tavern that spreads nonsense all day long. Yes. Ning Shu bowed and watched Zhao Su leave. Ning Shu stared at Zhao Su's back. Could it be that Zhao Su really was infatuated with noble Lady Zhou? Even now that noble Lady Zhou was rumored to be an evil spirit, she still did not look back. The current Zhao Su was calm and cold. She did not look like someone who was angry because of love. If the person he loved was slandered like this, wouldn't the emperor be so angry that millions of corpses would fall? Although it wouldn't be millions of corpses, the harem would definitely see blood. Now that nothing had happened to any of them, Ning Shu suspected that Zhao Su had ulterior motives towards noble Lady Zhou. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. There were so many women in Zhao Su's harem, but he insisted on doting on Zhou Guiran alone. He even slept with her for several days in a row, giving Zhou Guiran such great honor. Zhao Su was not a foolish man. If he had to choose between power and women, he would definitely choose power. As long as he had power, he would have everything, especially women. Therefore, Ning Shu was very puzzled by Zhao Su's actions. Could it be that he had heard of immortal pills and wanted immortality pills? Ning Shu sneered and suddenly felt that this reason made sense. Ning Shu didn't know what Zhao Su was thinking. Although Ning Shu strongly suppressed the matter of noble Lady Zhou and the matter of noble Lady Zhou was a taboo in the palace maids and young masters all hid far away when they saw noble Lady Zhou in the imperial garden. Even the people who served noble Lady Zhou looked at her strangely. When Guiran Zhou heard that she had been rumored to be a vixen, she was so angry that her face turned purple. How could she be a vixen? The people in the harem must have eaten their fill to think of such a ridiculous rumor. Guiran Zhou felt that this was something the women in the harem did. Because she had recently slept with him, they used such a rumor to hurt her. Guiran Zhou's expression was gloomy. It seemed that she had been in the limelight during this period of time, which made the women in the harem hate her. Guiran Zhou felt some regret in her heart. She shouldn't have slept with him so quickly. Her injuries had healed a little too quickly, but that was because of the energy of the pampered concubine system. But she was not in a good situation at the time. Besides, Zhao Su had asked her to sleep with him, so she couldn't refuse. If she refused, she didn't know when the next time would be. She was a little too anxious. System, what should I do now? Guiran Zhou helplessly asked the pampered concubine system for help. The current situation made Guiran Zhou feel quite troubled. Being recognized as non-human was a taboo for the ancient people. Keep a low profile for a while, the pampered concubine system said coldly. Think of a way to make the emperor believe you. Guiran Zhou couldn't help but hold her forehead. She felt a headache. The harem was full of danger at every step. In order to fight for favor, these women could do anything. They even slandered her as a vixen. The emperor has arrived. A eunuch's sharp voice sounded from outside Yuqiong court. Guiran Zhou immediately stood up and went to the door to greet Zhao Su. Zhao Su's face was dark as he walked into the room and sat in a chair. Emperor, what is it? Guiran Zhou carefully asked. Zhao Su glanced at the devastatingly beautiful Guiran Zhou. At this moment, she was talking to him. Her breath was like orchids and musk, with a light and elegant fragrance. Zhao Su felt that the person in front of him was someone who ate dew. She didn't need to eat at all. She didn't have any body odor. It was normal that there was no odor in her mouth, but there was still a fragrance. Although her breath was like orchids, was her belly full of flowers and fragrances? Have you heard the rumors in the palace? Zhao Su asked Guiran Zhou. He swept his eyes over the furnishings in Guiran Zhou's room. It was abnormally elegant and made people feel very comfortable. Speaking of this matter, Pinky really feels wronged. Guiren Zhou's face was filled with helplessness. Pinky isn't a vixen at all. Zhen believes that, but there are also rumors of immortals giving you immortal pills. What is that? Zhao Su stared at Guiren Zhou. Zhen doesn't really believe such nonsense. But what medicine did you use for the wound on your back? The wound is healing very well. Zhao Su carelessly asked. Guiren Zhou's expression changed as she wailed inside. What medicine could she use? That was the power of the system. That was why her wound healed so quickly. This time, Pinky's family medicine has been passed down in the family. It has a miraculous effect on knife wounds, but Pinky's medicine has already been used up. Guiren Zhou found an excuse. Zhao Su nodded, so it's like that. You don't need to care about those rumors. You are Zhen's woman. No one can do anything to you. Zhao Su firmly said. Emperor. Guiren Zhou's eyes filled with tears. Pinky thanks Emperor for his care. Zhen will eat breakfast here. Zhao Su said. Does Emperor really want to stay here to eat breakfast? Guiren Zhou's sparkling eyes looked at Zhao Su. Zhao Su's lips curled. What, am I not welcome? Of course Pinky is happy. Guiren Zhou had a brilliant smile on her face as she ordered the servant girls to quickly prepare breakfast. Although Guiren Zhou had a brilliant smile on her face, her heart was filled with dark clouds. In the past, when she wanted to be pampered, there wasn't any. Now that the system told her to be more low-key, Zhao Su came. Guiren Zhou felt that the heavens were playing with her. Nothing she did was going to go smoothly. Although it was breakfast, because Zhao Su was present, it was very sumptuous. The two sat around the table and ate breakfast. Guiren Zhou looked at the dignified Zhao Su. What was there to be low-key about? There was no point in being low-key. It was better to be a pampered concubine. As long as Emperor Zhao Su protected her, there was nothing she couldn't overcome. She didn't need to follow these women. She only needed to please the emperor. Everything was left to Zhao Su. Chapter 990. After thinking it through, noble Lady Zhou felt much better. The system was just a system made of data. Sometimes, there was no way to deal with sudden events. In this harem, being low-key wasn't enough to avoid trouble. Rather than being low-key and living an ignoble existence, it was better to be ostentatious and not worry about other women. This country and the harem were all Zhao Su's. Zhao Su had the final say in everything. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su with eyes full of affection. Her eyes were full of tenderness that made people's hearts move. Emperor, Qinxie has embroidered a sachet for you. Inside the sachet are flowers and plants that can calm the mind. Noble Lady Zhou stood up and took out a pouch from a box on the dressing table. Oh! Zhao Su took the pouch. It was embroidered with lifelike bamboo that was fresh and elegant. There were also 2 lines of poetry embroidered on the side. Deep in the forest, people don't know. The bright moon shines upon us. Zhao Su saw the 2 lines of poetry and raised an eyebrow. The bright moon shines upon us. Beloved concubine, do you think Shen is neglecting you? Zhao Su asked. Concubine has no such intention. Concubine just wants Emperor to know that concubine's heart is always thinking of Emperor and thinking of Emperor. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su affectionately. Zhen will accept it. Zhao Su hung the pouch at her waist, making Noble Lady Zhou's smile even brighter. Zhen will leave first. I'll come back tonight. Zhao Su reached out to pinch Noble Lady Zhou's face and left with a bright smile. Once Zhao Su left, Noble Lady Zhou let out a long breath and said to the maid beside her, "Take away everything on the table." The maid said with some surprise, "Noble lady, you haven't eaten much." "I don't have any appetite." "Take it away." Noble Lady Zhou waved her hand. The maid's expression was strange. As she packed up, she secretly looked at noble Lady Zhou. Was this person really an evil spirit? Why didn't she eat? She ate very little. Then there was the rumor that noble Lady Zhou was an evil spirit. She didn't eat much and ate very little. Evil spirits could cultivate and didn't need to eat. Ning Shu couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like noble Lady Zhou had quite a few spies in her palace. Zhao Su would only go to her palace. The others would not be able to drink a single mouthful of soup. The women in the harem reached a tacit understanding. They would first deal with noble Lady Zhou, and then rely on their own abilities. The rumor of Zhou Guiran being an inhuman was the result of many people working together. Ning Shu, the empress, felt very gratified when she saw so many concubines working together to deal with one person in harmony. When the rumors became outrageous, Ning Shu took action to suppress them. Zhao Su went to imperial concubine Zhou's Yuqiong garden for 2 days in a row. The handkerchiefs of the other women in the imperial harem were all torn. He gritted his teeth. Ning Shu was very virtuous and magnanimous. He did not allow noble Lady Zhou to come over to greet him. Many of the concubines had informed their families and complained tearfully that the emperor only favored one noble lady. During the court session, there were many officials who wanted Zhao Su to be treated equally. Zhao Su's expression was rather ugly. "This is my family's business, and it's not your place to make a fuss. Minister Lin, don't you also dote on your fourth Young? She almost never comes to your first wife's room. Assistant Minister Song, you have a concubine in charge of your harem. Are you doting on the concubine and neglecting the wife? Capital Governor, I heard that you are currently infatuated with a courtesan and do not return home at night. You even brought your official robes to the brothel and left the brothel early in the morning." Zhao Su opened her mouth and talked about many of the officials' private affairs. "You can't even take care of yourself, and you still care about us?" The officials all lowered their heads. "Your Majesty's family matters are state matters. Your Majesty should be treated equally and give birth to a dragon child as soon as possible." Empress Fu Wanhui's father, Grand Tutor Fu, cupped his hands as he spoke. Zhao Su snorted coldly. Her expression was very ugly. After the court session, she went to Long Autumn Palace. Ning Shu scolded, "The harem is not allowed to interfere in politics. What kind of harem is the empress in charge of? She allows the concubines in the harem to communicate with their families. At the morning court session today, these officials even threatened us and wanted us to treat them equally. As the emperor, we even have to care about the woman we dote on." Zhao Su's expression was cold. She narrowed her eyes and looked sharply at Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that he was really miserable. No matter what happened, he had to yell at her first. "It's Qinxia's fault. Qinxia will definitely properly manage the concubines in the harem." Ning Shu bowed and said, "Your Majesty dotes on noble Lady Zhou. Qinxia will not say anything, but your Majesty must take care of your health. Recently, your Majesty has been going to noble Lady Zhou's Jade Court every day. Qinxia is worried about your Majesty's health. Your Majesty's complexion has been a bit yellow recently. Qinxia is really worried. Fuck, it's best if it's this suspicious and two-faced Zhao Su every time." Ning Shu really hoped that he would die soon. "My complexion is not good?" Zhao Su couldn't help but touch her own face. "My complexion is really not good? Your Majesty, it really is not good. Your complexion is turning blue." Ning Shu nodded as he said. Zhao Su's pupils contracted. She really did feel like she wanted to die from noble Lady Zhou's body. It was very refreshing. She felt that she didn't have this kind of feeling from other women. Qinxia doesn't think that noble Lady Zhou is some kind of demon or vixen that sucks people's vitality, but your Majesty must take care of your health," Ning Shu said to Zhao Su. Zhao Su thought for a while before nodding. "Zitong is right. She said that you were right, but who knew what she was thinking in her heart? Zhao Su would never bare her heart to the women in the harem. See, she just said in the morning that he had to take care of his health, and Zhao Su went to Jade Court at night. Ning Shu silently prayed that Zhao Su would not be Zhao Su. The women in the harem would become rootless duckweeds, including her, the empress. If the big tree fell, how could the daughter that clung to the big tree survive? How tragic. It looked like she had to speed up the process. Ning Shu didn't want to get her hands dirty. At least she wanted to be an empress without a stain. Ning Shu didn't understand. So many people could see that there was something wrong with noble Lady Zhou. Who in the harem was stupid? Why did Zhao Su act like an idiot and refuse to listen? Everyone in the harem knew that noble Lady Zhou was a vixen, but Zhao Su still went to sleep with her. Ning Shu admired Zhao Su's courage. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't go to noble Lady Zhou at all. But Ning Shu felt that Zhao Su was a tiger cub without entering the tiger's lair. She tolerated noble Lady Zhou so much because she wanted something from noble Lady Zhou. She wanted the concubine system. Whatever, he had to do something. He was just afraid that Zhao Su would be blinded by lust. Your Majesty. Qiling called out to Ning Shu, who was sleeping in bed. Ning Shu opened her eyes. What is it? Something happened at Jade Court, said Qiling. What time is it? Ning Shu lifted the duvet and got out of bed. Midnight. Damn, it was the middle of the night, and something happened at Jade Court. Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? Are you waiting to die? Chapter 991. Qiling helped Ning Shu freshen up and went to Yuqiong Court. What's going on? Ning Shu asked Qiling on the way to Yuqiong Court. I don't know the details. The maid who came to report said that noble Lady Zhou offended your Majesty, Qiling said as she followed Ning Shu. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. According to the schedule of the ancient times, they should have already slept. Making a scene at this time, could it be that they had been doing it until now? She was quite desperate. Ning Shu gathered his clothes and went to Inua Palace. The noble consort was standing at the door of Yuqiong Court. When she saw Ning Shu, she hurriedly bowed. Your Highness, what's going on? Ning Shu asked. The noble consort shook her head and said blankly, I don't know what happened. Then there was a commotion here. The noble consort was next door. She heard the commotion and came over. Zhao Su's roar came from the room. Noble Lady Zhou, you dare to plot against me? No, your Majesty, I was wronged. I never had any intention of hurting your Majesty, noble Lady Zhou cried. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and walked into Yuqiong Court. The noble consort hurriedly followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu stepped into the room and saw Zhao Su sitting by the bed in her underclothes. Noble Lady Zhou knelt on the ground with her hair down. She was wearing a thin undergarment. It was after the Mid-Autumn Festival. Although the autumn air was cool, it was a bit cold at night. Now noble Lady Zhou was kneeling on the ground, her body trembling slightly. I pay my respects to your Majesty, Ning Shu bowed to Zhao Su, then glanced at noble Lady Zhou and asked, what's going on? Zhao Su sneered and pointed to a pouch on the ground. The pouch was broken, revealing some flowers and plants inside. The flowers and plants inside were soaked in the juice of poisonous paint vines. Zhao Su stared sharply at noble Lady Zhou. Noble Lady Zhou desperately shook her head and hastily explained, this concubine really didn't poison it. This concubine doesn't know what poison paint vine is. Your Majesty, you have to believe this concubine. This concubine was wrongly accused and framed by someone. Ning Shu glanced at the pouch on the ground. Ning Shu knew about the poison paint vine. It was a type of plant with 3 leaves. Once a person came into direct or indirect contact with its juice, he or she would have an itchy allergic reaction. Your Majesty, are you alright? Ning Shu asked Zhao Su. Zhao Su sneered. I was wondering why I wasn't feeling well today. So it's because of the sachet you gave me. Ning Shu was rather suspicious. How did she discover that there was a problem with the sachet and pouch in the middle of the night? Why didn't she sleep and play with the pouch in the middle of the night? Ning Shu stood quietly to the side, silently observing the development of the situation. He felt that there was something strange about this matter. Your Majesty, do you want a Tai to come take a look? Ning Shu asked. How does your Majesty know that the flowers and plants in the sachet have been soaked in poisonous plant juice? When Zhen was young, Zhen came into contact with this kind of thing. Because of this, Zhen's skin festered for a long time. The taste of the juice left a deep impression. Zhao Su sharply stared at Noble Lady Zhou. Noble Lady Zhou said that the sachet was filled with calming herbs. Zhen put the sachet on the bed and felt that my face was itchy. Zhao Su said. Ning Shu, only discovered in the middle of the night. Could it be that they had been doing it the entire time? Noble Lady Zhou's face was deathly white. She was confused and helpless. Your Majesty, you have to believe this concubine. This really wasn't done by this concubine. Noble Lady Zhou knelt as she walked towards Zhao Su. Zhao Su immediately said, Don't come near Zhen. Noble Lady Zhou froze and her tears fell onto the obsidian floor. She begged, Your Majesty, please believe this concubine. This concubine loves you too much. Why would she hurt you? What good is there in harming you? That doesn't make sense, Your Majesty. Noble Lady Zhou's entire body was ice cold as she kowtowed towards Zhao Su. That doesn't make sense. Zhen still wants to know why you want to harm Zhen and why you came to Zhen's side. Or are you in cahoots with those dancers? Zhao Su's voice was abnormally cold. Zhen wants to know why you want to harm Zhen. Why, Zhen doesn't treat you well. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su in a daze. What dancers? This concubine has nothing to do with those assassins. System, what should I do? What is going on? Zhou Guiran begged the beloved concubine system in his heart. She had been accused of regicide without knowing anything. If this accusation was confirmed, how could she continue to pamper the harem? Who was it that wanted to harm her? She had personally made the sachet and there was no poisonous plant juice inside. She had personally stuffed the flowers and plants inside, so how could she be fine after touching the flowers? The Emperor's sachet must have been swapped out by someone. It had to be like this. Your Majesty, if this concubine touched the flowers and plants, this concubine's hands would definitely itch and fester, but this concubine is completely fine right now. Noble Lady Zhou quickly raised her hands, a pair of hands that were as smooth as jade and as tender as spring onions. This pouch wasn't made by you. Zhao Su spoke, you said you didn't poison Zhen. Show me the evidence. Then Your Majesty, show me the evidence that this concubine poisoned Your Majesty. Noble Lady Zhou bit her lip tightly. Impudent. Zhao Su's voice exploded like thunder as he pointed at the sachet on the ground. This is the evidence. Zhen is only wearing the sachet you gave Zhen. Zhen trusted you in vain. Noble Lady Zhou's body trembled and her face became even paler. Under the candlelight, she was so pale she was almost transparent. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhao Su and then at Noble Lady Zhou. It really was strange. As a spectator, what she saw was that Zhao Su didn't even give Noble Lady Zhou a chance to defend herself and put the blame on Noble Lady Zhou. Was this a fucking self-directed performance? Your Majesty, this concubine is really innocent. This concubine was framed by someone, Noble Lady Zhou shouted in panic and grief. Someone must have framed this concubine, it must be. Noble Lady Zhou turned her head and saw Ning Shu and Zhuang Fei. She pointed at Ning Shu and Zhuang Fei, you must have framed me. You saw that I was endlessly favored and wanted to get rid of me. Your Majesty, please investigate the truth of the matter. This concubine is really innocent. Noble Lady Zhou kowtowed to Zhao Su as she cried out pitifully. Her tears were like pear blossoms, poignant and moving. System, say something. Noble Lady Zhou's heart was burning with anxiety. Previously, she had been calling for the favored concubine system, but the system didn't even give her a hint. Leaving her to fight alone. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and bowed to Zhao Su. Your Majesty, is there a misunderstanding here? Why would Noble Lady Zhou want to poison Your Majesty? What misunderstanding could there be? Zhao Su sneered and pointed at the damaged sachet. This is the evidence. Ning Shu didn't speak. He faintly sensed it. The person who had been clinging to him before had immediately turned hostile. This change was too fast. Noble Lady Zhou had been the most favored concubine in the harem and had served the emperor for almost 10 days. Now, she was about to become a prisoner who killed the emperor. The change was too fast for the eyes to take in. A man's thoughts. Chapter 992. In the matter of the sachet, Noble Lady Zhou was 100% certain that she had been wrongly accused. She hadn't thought that Zhao Su would suddenly make a move. Noble Lady Zhou knelt on the ground. The coldness of the floor passed through her knees to every corner of her body, making Noble Lady Zhou feel cold to the bone. Emperor, please believe Pinky, Pinky really is innocent. Noble Lady Zhou cried out pitifully to Zhao Su. She desperately called out to the pampered consort system in her mind, but the pampered consort system didn't respond at all. Noble Lady Zhou's appearance was like a flower petal that had been ground into mud. It was incomparably beautiful, but Zhao Su still had a cold expression. His entire body was filled with ruthlessness. He didn't react at all to Noble Lady Zhou's pleas. Changing faces really was faster than flipping through a book. So shameless. Ning Shu was deep in thought for a while before bowing to Zhao Su and saying, Emperor, Qinxie will definitely properly interrogate Noble Lady Zhou and give Emperor an explanation. This isn't a normal harem incident. Noble Lady Zhou is connected to those dancers. She is an assassin. Zhao Su's face was cold as he stared sharply at Ning Shu. Zhen will personally interrogate her. Emperor means? Ning Shu asked Zhao Su with a dumbfounded expression. Zhao Su said, Zhen suspects that Noble Lady Zhou is in cahoots with those dancers. She purposely saved Emperor to gain Zhen's trust. Ning Shu, this imagination. That's not possible. At the time, Noble Lady Zhou was stabbed by the dancers. Ning Shu swept a glance over Noble Lady Zhou, who was also dumbfounded. This is a plan to kill two birds with one stone. It would be best if she could kill Zhen, but if she couldn't, she used this to gain Zhen's trust. Zhao Su turned to his personal eunuch and said, have the guards take Noble Lady Zhou to the prison. Zhen will personally interrogate her. No one is allowed to see her. Yes. Emperor, Emperor. Zhou Gairen's expression was dazed. She immediately reacted and quickly crawled to the bed. She grabbed Zhao Su's trousers and shouted, Emperor, Pinky really was wronged. Emperor, you have to believe Pinky. Pinky has nothing to do with the dancers, nothing at all. Noble Lady Zhou's expression was sincere because she really was wrongly accused. Why did Zhao Su pin such a crime on her head? She didn't commit regicide, she didn't. Two guards walked in and grabbed Noble Lady Zhou's arms, dragging her out of the room. Noble Lady Zhou struggled with all her might and rushed towards Zhao Su. Emperor, you have to believe this concubine. Take him away. Zhao Su waved his hand. Your Majesty, woo woo. Noble Lady Zhou, who was being dragged away, was still wailing mournfully. In the end, her mouth was gagged by a guard, and she could only make muffled sounds. Zhao Su's face was dark and his eyes were narrowed. No one could tell what he was thinking. Ning Shu glanced at Zhao Su and lowered his head. This man was really, without the slightest precaution or hesitation, Zhao Su attacked. This was what it meant to toy with people in the palm of one's hand. Using a gift from a woman to frame a woman, this kind of thing could be done. Even if it was the emperor, he would not reveal anything. He was the emperor, he could casually find a reason to punish noble Lady Zhou. But he used this method. Empress. Zhao Su interrupted Ning Shu's thoughts. Ning Shu immediately replied, "What orders does your majesty have?" Zhao Su rubbed his forehead tiredly. "Do not let the palace spread rumors that noble Lady Zhou is some kind of vixen." Qinxia understands. Ning Shu bowed, "Your majesty, there is still some time before court. Your majesty should rest well." Zhao Su made a sound of acknowledgement and left with the help of a maid. As soon as Zhao Su left, the noble consort let out a long sigh and patted her chest. She turned her head and asked Ning Shu in confusion, "That sachet? Don't worry about it." Ning Shu lightly said. "That noble Lady Zhou." The noble consort's mind still hadn't understood why noble Lady Zhou would poison Zhao Su. "Don't worry about it. His Majesty said that noble Lady Zhou is an assassin, so she is an assassin." Ning Shu looked at the noble consort. Perhaps noble Lady Zhou really does have an elixir. What? The noble consort was a bit confused. Ning Shu left Jade Court. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Ning Shu had originally planned to make a move to make the rumors about noble Lady Zhou more realistic and confirm that she was a vixen. He didn't expect that Zhao Su would make the first move. Ning Shu had reason to suspect that Zhao Su was aiming for some elixir of immortality and eternal youth. Don't underestimate the ancient emperor's fanatical pursuit of immortality. Qin Shi Huang even had Su Fu find an elixir of immortality. Many emperors took elixirs, but in the end, their lives were shortened and they died even earlier. The older noble Lady Zhou grew, the more beautiful she became. Anyone could see the change. When you loved someone deeply, you would subconsciously ignore the strangeness and the shortcomings of your lover. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The current Zhao Su didn't love noble Lady Zhou. To him, all the women in the harem were the same. Although noble Lady Zhou was a bit special, when there were greater benefits, Zhao Su would definitely abandon noble Lady Zhou. If it were any other woman, it would be the same. It wasn't easy to survive in the harem. Not only were there fights between the same sex, but there were fights between the opposite sex as well. When you wanted to curry favor with the emperor, you also had to compete with the emperor in terms of wits. Back at Long Autumn Palace, Ning Shu moved his neck and said to Qiuling, "Take off all the things on my head." Yes, on the other side, noble Lady Zhou was taken to a dark room by the guards. There was only a window the size of a head in this dark room, and dim oil lamps were burning around it. She couldn't see what was around her. "Go in." Noble Lady Zhou was thrown in. She grabbed the iron bars and shouted, "Let me out. I want to see the emperor. I've been wronged." Noble Lady Zhou shouted with all her might, and there were waves of responses, which made the surroundings even more eerie and terrifying. Noble Lady Zhou's face was pale and she looked terrified. "What should I do? What should I do, system, please say something. What should I do?" Noble Lady Zhou crouched down and put her head in her hands. The beloved concubine system said, "You're a piece of trash. You have to save me. If something happens to me, you won't get anything out of it either." Noble Lady Zhou shouted in a hurry. Her face was twisted with fear. "Do something. There's no such thing as losing one or losing all. As long as I waste some energy, I can get rid of you. I've seen so many hosts, but you're the most brainless one." "Sure enough, modern people are different from ancient people," the system said coldly. Noble Lady Zhou was dumbfounded. The system was going to abandon her. How could she do that? No, no, you can't leave me. Noble Lady Zhou held her head in her hands and murmured, please don't abandon me. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Please. The system didn't say anything. Noble Lady Zhou's heart clenched in fear. If you abandon me, I'll tell your secret. Chapter 993. Zhao Su stood at the door of the cell. Beside her was a Taoist wearing Taoist robes and holding a horsetail whisk. Zhao Su heard Noble Lady Zhou ramble on, but she didn't know who she was talking to. Zhao Su looked around the entire cell and only saw Noble Lady Zhou, but it was clear that Noble Lady Zhou was talking to someone. Zhao Su's sharp eyes stared at Noble Lady Zhou. This woman really did have a secret. Zhao Su's heart beat faster. She was nervous and expectant. Noble Lady Zhou. Zhao Su shouted. Noble Lady Zhou slowly turned around. When she saw Zhao Su, she immediately charged at Zhao Su, but she was stopped by the metal bars. Noble Lady Zhou grabbed the bars and shouted at Noble Lady Zhou, Emperor, please believe this concubine. This concubine really did not poison you, nor is she an assassin. Emperor, what will it take for you to believe this concubine? Noble Lady Zhou was very terrified. The system said it was going to abandon her, and now she was accused of regicide. If Zhao Su didn't believe her, she was dead for sure. How long had she been in ancient times? What emperor's extreme love, unconditional pampering, peerless beauty in the harem, a pair for life? Noble Lady Zhou had forgotten. She only wanted to live, to live. She only wanted to be her original self, Zhou Ningning. The development of the situation was different from what she had imagined. It was also different from what the system had planned. Tell Zhen all your secrets, then Zhen will believe you. Speak. Zhao Su looked at Noble Lady Zhou through the bars. Secrets, what secrets? Noble Lady Zhou's eyes flickered. Zhao Su sneered, not honest at all. Taoist priest, look at this woman. Zhao Su asked the Taoist priest beside her, see what kind of demon she is. The Taoist priest with a long beard examined Noble Lady Zhou and asked, what are the birth characters of this noble lady? Zhao Su raised her chin at the eunuch beside her. The eunuch took out a piece of paper and handed it to the Taoist priest. The Taoist priest looked at the birth characters on the slip of paper and calculated for a while. Then, he cupped his hands towards Zhao Su and said, Your Majesty, the real Noble Lady Zhou is already dead. This Noble Lady Zhou is merely a reincarnated soul. Her body has been taken over by a wandering ghost. When Noble Lady Zhou heard this, her body went soft and she sat on the ground. Her eyes were blank as she shouted in panic, Emperor, this concubine isn't a ghost. This concubine is Zhou Ningning. This concubine really is Zhou Ningning. Tell me, what secrets do you have? Zhao Su asked indifferently, I asked the palace maids in the cold palace to describe Zhou Ningning's appearance and let the artist draw it. Zhou Ningning doesn't look like you at all. Although they look alike, they are not the same person. Zhao Su stared at Noble Lady Zhou. How did you become like this? Pinky has always been like this. Zhou Guiran shook her head in panic. Pinky hasn't changed at all. Zhao Su exhaled and clicked his tongue. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Drag him out for punishment. Emperor. Noble Lady Zhou had a dazed expression as she was dragged out by the guards and tied to the cross. Noble Lady Zhou struggled with all her strength, her expression becoming more and more fearful. Speak. If you speak, you'll suffer less. Zhao Su's eyes swept over the torture tools in the torture room. He reached out to take the soldering iron in the charcoal basin and poked at the red-hot charcoal. The triangular piece of iron at the end of the soldering iron was already red-hot. Noble Lady Zhou's entire body was covered in sweat. She gulped down a mouthful of saliva as she stared dazedly at the expressionless Zhao Su. This man was really too cruel. Before, he was still holding her affectionately, but now he was treating her so cruelly. He was still whispering sweet nothings in her ear, making her blush and her heart beat faster. But now, before the sun had even risen, this man had already turned his back on her. Zhao Su was the son of heaven. He had an incomparable status. He had sharp eyebrows and starry eyes. He had the appearance of a dragon and phoenix. This man was full of charm. Sometimes, noble Lady Zhou would also indulge in it. He had power, influence, and was also handsome. To have this kind of man as a husband, any woman's heart would be filled with pride. But now, he was actually going to torture her. Emperor. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su with tears in her eyes. Her eyes were filled with hurt and sadness, as well as deep feelings for Zhao Su. Zhao Su's expression was indifferent. The wound on your back has already healed and there isn't a single scar left. Zhen wants to see if it can be healed after being burned by the soldering iron. Zhao Su walked towards noble Lady Zhou with the soldering iron. Noble Lady Zhou's face was ashen. Her eyes trembled as she looked at the red soldering iron. As Zhao Su walked closer, the heat of the soldering iron spread to her body. Zhao Su raised the soldering iron. Zhen wants to try branding my face. Zhen believes that with noble Lady Zhou's ability, your face will definitely be healed. No, don't. Noble Lady Zhou tilted her head and felt the heat of the iron. Before it touched her skin, she already felt a burning pain. Don't, I'll tell you everything, I'll tell you. Noble Lady Zhou quickly said. She couldn't imagine what kind of pain her skin would suffer if the iron was pressed against her face. Noble Lady Zhou came from modern society. When had she ever seen such a cruel punishment? She felt indifferent when she saw it on TV. Now, it was her turn to be tied to a frame. This pain, this suffering. Speak. If even one word is false, your end might be a bit miserable. Zhao Su's expression was calm, as if it wasn't a big deal at all. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su and couldn't accept it. She bitterly said, Emperor, don't you care about the relationship between husband and wife? One night as husband and wife is 100 days of grace. Emperor, are you this heartless? You're not Zhou Ningning at all. You're just a lonely ghost. Zhao Su indifferently said. He didn't take noble Lady Zhou's hurt words to heart at all. Noble Lady Zhou couldn't help but bitterly smile. Zhou Ningning is dead. She died in the cold palace. But the person who accompanied Emperor day and night was me. I'm not a lonely ghost. I just came here by accident. Zhen doesn't want to hear this. Tell Zhen, how did the wound on your back heal? Was there really an elixir? Zhao Su's tone was a bit urgent. Who were you talking to before? Emperor. Noble Lady Zhou looked at Zhao Su desolately. Zhao Su was very impatient. He directly waved his hand at the guard. The guard held a long whip in his hand. He swung the whip and whipped noble Lady Zhou. Ah! Noble Lady Zhou suddenly screamed. The whip on her body burned with pain. Especially when it hurt so much that noble Lady Zhou's mind was in a daze. Noble Lady Zhou muttered, save me, speak. If you don't speak, it's not good to have this whip with chilly water on it. Zhao Su's expression was indifferent. Don't challenge Shin's patience. Chapter 994. Zhou Guiren, who had delicate skin and tender flesh, was whipped. His thin inner clothes were torn by the whip and blood oozed out. His body twitched slightly and his face turned ashen. The veins on his forehead bulged as he groaned. Are you going to speak or not? Zhao Su pinched noble Lady Zhou's chin. Noble Lady Zhou's expression was dazed from the pain. Whip again. Zhao Su released noble Lady Zhou's chin. Zhen's country can't tolerate such a monster. I'll speak. Noble Lady Zhou's face was ashen and her breathing was weak. I have a system called the Beloved Concubine System. What is that? Zhao Su leaned closer to Noble Lady Zhou and asked. My wounds healed quickly because of the system's energy. Before Noble Lady Zhou finished speaking, her expression changed. You can't abandon me. You can't. Ah. Noble Lady Zhou screamed as if she was about to break down. Her skin instantly turned black and yellow. Her entire person lost its luster. Her creamy skin was gone. Her breath was gone. Her masterpiece was gone. Everything that the system gave her was gone. Noble Lady Zhou turned from a bright and fragrant flower to a yellow vegetable leaf that was about to rot. A person's sudden transformation shocked Zhao Su. A beauty suddenly turned into an ugly monster. This visual conflict was quite big. Noble Lady Zhou wasn't ugly. How could someone who could enter the palace as a concubine be ugly? But the previous Noble Lady Zhou was too beautiful, too perfect. She suddenly changed and became very ugly. Noble Lady Zhou turned to look at her hands tied to the wooden frame. Her skin was dark and rough. This was how she looked when she had just transmigrated. Noble Lady Zhou felt as if she had been stripped naked. She was too ashamed to show her face. She was ashamed and angry. You can't burn the bridge like this. You can't abandon me. You can't. Noble Lady Zhou stomped her feet and cried. If you abandon me, I will tell your secret. Noble Lady Zhou said through gritted teeth. Trash. The system's cold voice sounded in Noble Lady Zhou's mind. Then there was a huge explosion in Noble Lady Zhou's mind. She was in incomparable pain. She felt as if her soul was about to dissipate. There was a whirlpool-like thing that was absorbing her soul. Noble Lady Zhou's heart was filled with endless fear. She felt as if her consciousness was slowly dissipating and was about to disappear from this world. She was going to die. She was going to disappear. The beloved concubine system had eaten her soul. What did you say? What can't be abandoned? Zhao Su hurriedly asked. What did you say? Louder. Noble Lady Zhou's consciousness was dissipating. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. The imperial bodyguard hurriedly came up to check his breathing, then felt his pulse. He cupped his hands towards Zhao Su and said, the emperor has stopped breathing. Dead? Zhao Su frowned. How could he be so weak that he could be killed with a single whip? At the most crucial moment, he died. He was trying to silence the witness. What was the beloved concubine system? Zhao Su looked around the torture chamber as if looking for that invisible thing. Taoist priest, help me check if there are any more demons like this in the imperial harem. It is said that when a country is about to fall, demons are bound to appear. My country is very stable, and I cannot allow these demons and monsters to run rampant. Yes. The Taoist bowed and said. Cremate the body. I don't believe that after it's turned to ashes, there will still be ghosts and monsters that can enter this body. Zhao Su flicked her sleeves and left. Zhao Su was frustrated that she didn't find anything. All she knew was this system. What the hell was this system? Zhao Su asked the Taoist priest, do you know what this system is? The Taoist priest flicked his horsetail whisk. I think it's an otherworldly object. I won't allow these strange things in my imperial palace. They're called beloved concubines. Check all the women in the imperial harem for me. See if there are any more demons and monsters in my harem. Leave none alive. The look on Zhao Su's face was grim. I won't forgive anyone who messes with my country. Ning Shu waited in Long Autumn Palace until dawn, but there was no news from Zhao Su. When it was time to go to court, Zhao Su went to court as usual, as if nothing had happened. Tell the concubines that they don't have to come to greet me, said Ning Shu. Ning Shu tilted his stiff neck. All of a sudden, a cold mechanical voice rang out in his head. Binding to the virtuous queen system. Loading data. Loading data completed. Hello, host. This is the virtuous queen system. The system's mission is to turn you into an eternal empress, so that you can enjoy His Majesty's favor and be recognized and praised by all the civil and military officials. The virtuous queen system's voice was very mechanical. Maybe it was because the system didn't have enough energy, but it stuttered a little when it spoke. Ning Shu. What the hell? Wasn't the beloved concubine system? Why was there a virtuous queen system? Did the system change its name according to its host's characteristics? Had the beloved concubine system abandoned noble Lady Zhou and bound to her now? Ning Shu couldn't help but laugh. The virtuous queen system asked, "What do I need to do if you want to turn me into an eternal virtuous queen?" You just need to follow the system's mission. After completing the mission, there will be rewards. These rewards will make you a beauty that can topple cities and make you rich in learning. You will become a winner in life. Ning Shu spread his hands helplessly. Why are you looking for me? You know that I'm not favored by His Majesty. Because you're not favored. With the help of the system, you will be favored by His Majesty, the virtuous queen system said mechanically. Ning Shu, she had been thinking of a way to meet noble Lady Zhou. When the system left noble Lady Zhou, she didn't expect the system to find her. You can become the successor of an ancient sage. Your soul has the golden light of merit. You are a person blessed by the heavens. When it came to the golden light of merit, the mechanical voice actually fluctuated a little. Soul. Golden light of merit. This merit had been fused into her soul to deal with the assassin. The beloved concubine system had seen it. Ning Shu's eyes darted around. After pondering for a while, he cursed in his heart. This system didn't just steal the laws of providence and the fate of the nation. It even sucked away people's souls. Fuck, this system was a complete ripoff. It completely used people and didn't even let go of their souls. Even if the bound hosts became winners in life, they would still have their souls sucked away in the end. Not only their soul power, but also their soul origin. Fuck, these mission enforcers only collected soul power. After a successful counterattack, the user could still go back to live. With their soul origin, they could be reincarnated. Although he didn't know what reincarnation was, he had a chance to start over. Chapter 995. She in 2333 did not go to the beloved concubine system, but the system came to her first. That was like walking right into a trap. It even bound her. Ning Shu did not know what to say. 2333 had made a killing this time. God knows how many rules this system had absorbed, and it even swallowed the host's soul. God knows how many good things it had stored. 2333, what do you think? Ning Shu called out to 2333 in his heart. It's bound to you. It's a bit troublesome. It's bound to your soul. If you're not careful, it will hurt your soul. 2333 said helplessly. Ning Shu, what? Exercise. Ning Shu's heart was like a galloping horse. This was really, then what should I do? Ning Shu asked with a serious face. Mutual data attack. 2333 said. Ning Shu, exercise. Then can you beat the virtuous queen system? Ning Shu rolled his eyes and asked. As my support system, you're really weak. You let an external system bind me. Ning Shu said with disdain. 2333 ignored Ning Shu's disdain. This system is even stronger than the celebrity system. It must have taken a lot of things and experienced a lot of hosts. Ning Shu asked seriously, then when can I destroy the virtuous queen system? Is this the beloved concubine system from before? Yes, the name is not important. It can change its name at any time. Emperor system, palace maid system, formidable hero system, strategy system, handsome man system, beautiful woman system, any name will do. The host can be male or female. 2333 said. Since it bound you, it will give you a mission. You don't have to do as it says. 2333 said. Ning Shu smiled. But I'm going to be punished. I'll keep it for you. These punishments are all energy. I can absorb them. 2333 said. Let's use up its energy first. Ning Shu nodded. That was all he could do. Then I'll have to trouble you. My skills can't help you much. It seemed like he had to make 2333 stronger. Otherwise, if an even stronger system came, it would be a joke if 2333 was killed. She might not even be able to return to the system space. She, as a mission enforcer, might become a wild one. However, now that the virtuous queen system was with her, she didn't need to go to the prison to look for noble Lady Zhou and arouse Zhao Su's suspicion. Ning Shu would never provoke the emperor, who had a high IQ. Ning Shu was still grumbling when Qiuling walked in. Seeing Ning Shu's pale face, she asked in a hurry, Your ladyship, what's wrong? Nothing, what's wrong? Ning Shu asked. His Majesty sent Eunuch Li with a message, said Qiuling. Ning Shu nodded. When Eunuch Li came in, Ning Shu saluted and said respectfully, Empress, His Majesty wants you to bring all the concubines and concubines to Xingla Palace. Eunuch, what happened? Ning Shu asked. Why did Zhao Su suddenly summon the concubines? This servant is not sure either. Eunuch Li bowed. Ning Shu asked Qiuling to send some maids to summon all the imperial concubines and concubines, then brought a large group of beautiful women to the Xingla Palace. Ning Shu walked into Xingla Palace first and saw Zhao Su drinking tea. Zhao Su's face was dark and there was a Taoist priest standing next to him with a horsetail whisk. Ning Shu and the other concubines bowed to Zhao Su. Rise. Zhao Su's voice was indifferent. He was in a bad mood anyway. Sit. Zhao Su waved his hand. Thank you, Your Majesty. Ning Shu sat down. Zhao Su said with a dark face, I've already executed noble Lady Zhou. She was in cahoots with that dancer and tried to assassinate me. The concubines looked at each other in bewilderment. Noble Lady Zhou, who was so favored by the emperor, had disappeared from the harem. Thank goodness His Majesty found out. Otherwise, the harem would be in big trouble. Ning Shu said to Zhao Su. He saw that the Taoist priest beside Zhao Su kept looking at the concubines in the room. He had been observing her for a long time. Was Zhao Su suspecting all the concubines in the harem? I called you here to tell you that I'm not blind. I can see everything. If you cause any more trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. We obey Your Majesty's will. The concubines stood up and bowed to Zhao Su. Issue a mission. Have His Majesty come to Long Autumn Palace tonight. The virtuous queen system's mechanical voice suddenly sounded in Ning Shu's mind. Mission reward, telepathy skill. Ability to sense what others are thinking. Wow, this skill is pretty good. It gave me such a good skill right off the bat. I'm guessing it wants me to be the system's puppet. Zhao Su glanced at the concubines and twirled the thumb ring on his thumb. Oh, before the end of the year, your ranks should all rise a bit. Thank you for your grace, Your Majesty. The concubines' faces lit up with joy. Zhao Su waved his hand and dismissed the concubines, including Ning Shu. Ning Shu left with another group of beauties. How was it? Zhao Su asked the Taoist priest. Was there anyone who was supposed to be dead who came back alive? No, the Taoist priest said. What about the Empress? I told you to focus on the Empress. Zhao Su stared at the Taoist priest. The Taoist priest shook his head. There's nothing wrong with the Empress. She has the aura of a queen. I see. Zhao Su's expression was indifferent. After returning to Long Autumn Palace, Ning Shu said to 2333, "Damn, did Zhao Su see through my identity?" The Taoist priest who could follow Zhao Su around must have some skills. There were many capable people in the world. Ning Shu was worried that the Taoist priest could tell that he wasn't Fu Wanhui. What's there to worry about? Didn't someone give you the Mother of the World halo? Not only can the halo produce the power of faith, but it also has additional effects. With this halo, as long as you are the Empress, you are no different from the original owner. You have the destiny of being the mother of the world. Even a capable person with qi divination wouldn't be able to tell, 2333 said. Ning Shu was relieved. He felt that Zhao Su was suspicious of him. As for the quest given by the virtuous queen system, Ning Shu didn't care. At night, Zhao Su didn't come to Ning Shu's palace. The virtuous queen system determined that Ning Shu's quest had failed. Quest failed. Quest punishment is burning. The virtuous queen system's voice was cold. Burning? That was tying someone to a copper pillar and burning them to death. It was a torture method invented by King Zhou of Shang. It could be said that it was extremely cruel. After being burned, the skin and flesh would be charred. The temperature of the searing hot was about 700 degrees Celsius. The person would definitely be burnt like fried dough sticks. First, he used a very seductive skill to tempt her. The harem's hearts were complicated. If she could get telepathy, it would be a great help. If she failed, he would punish her in an extremely horrible way. Under this kind of training, anyone would submit. Chapter 996. Ning Shu lay on the bed, waiting for the punishment to come. 2333, you have to work hard. Ning Shu felt that she should be able to endure this kind of punishment. After all, she was someone who could survive a vicious curse. Let's see who outlasted who. Ning Shu felt warm all over. She didn't feel the pain of being burned at all. It was like being in a sauna. She was sweating all over, but she felt much better. Is it over? Ning Shu asked 2333. I've absorbed the power of the punishment, 2333 said. Awesome. Ning Shu gave 2333 a thumbs up. Of course, it's only because my level is low right now. When I'm higher, these systems won't be my match at all, 2333 said smugly. Ning Shu, a few compliments and you think you're going to heaven? Don't forget, her soul is bound to the virtuous queen system. All I can do is watch. Useless. Ning Shu had Chilling prepare some hot water. She was sweating all over and wanted to wash up. Why don't you feel any pain? The virtuous queen system's robotic voice was puzzled. It had never encountered such a thing before. This host's reaction was beyond its expectations. Ning Shu lay in the bathtub. She was sweating all over. Taking a hot bath was really comfortable. Oh, I don't feel pain, Ning Shu said happily. The virtuous queen system didn't believe Ning Shu's words. His pain was mental, not physical. That kind of pain was engraved in the soul. The virtuous queen system released another lightning strike. The water in the bathtub crackled. But Ning Shu was completely fine. She even poured the electrified water on herself. The numbing sensation was quite comfortable. It was like a massage, but all her hair stood on end. What's going on? The virtuous queen system was completely confused. Its energy was gone. It had never encountered a host like this before. The virtuous queen system released more energy to torture Ning Shu, but 2333 absorbed it all. The system felt that something wasn't right. Usually, this kind of carrot and stick method was used to make it easier to tame people. But now, the punishment method was not effective. Without experiencing extreme pain, people would not learn to be obedient, and it would be even more impossible for them to complete the mission properly. The virtuous queen system calculated the gains and losses and felt that it would not benefit from this host. Instead, it would be a waste of energy. However, before he left, he had to take this soul with him. This soul was powerful and had good karma. It was a gain. There were very few souls with such merit. Ning Shu had just finished showering and was putting on her clothes when she felt a force trying to suck her soul out of her body and into a place where she could not see the light of day. 2333, hurry up and attack, or both of us will be finished. 2333 was bound to her soul. If something happened to her soul, 2333 would die as well. Ning Shu tried her best to control her soul. She felt the suction force getting stronger and stronger. Her soul was about to leave this body. Ning Shu suddenly realized that she was really weak. Her soul attack was very weak, and she had no ability to protect herself. It seemed that she would have to cultivate soul attack techniques in the future. The last time she fought with an assassin for a body, Ning Shu realized that her soul attack was her weakness. When this mission was over, she had to exchange for a secret manual to cultivate soul attack power. In a situation like this, she had no ability to resist at all. As a mission enforcer, the most important thing was her soul. Ning Shu tried her best to control her soul so that it would not be sucked away by the virtuous queen system. Then, the suction force became weaker and gradually disappeared. Ning Shu sighed. 2333 had finally made its move. I must cultivate soul attack power. I can't rely on 2333. If 2333 can't deal with it, I'll be finished. What the hell are you? The virtuous queen system's voice was filled with anger. Give me back my energy. The virtuous queen system saw that something was wrong and quickly left Ning Shu's soul. The moment it left, 2333 invaded the virtuous queen system. Ning Shu covered her ears. Her ears were filled with the sound of static, and the information was chaotic. When the static gradually disappeared, Ning Shu called out to 2333 in her heart. Still alive? Alive. 2333's voice sounded tired. Ning Shu sighed. As long as you're alive. She had never felt so real before. She and 2333 were like grasshoppers on the same rope. No matter how they jumped, they were bound together. However, Ning Shu still had to say one thing. 2333 was really useless. Not only was he useless, he even looked down on her. They were forced to be tied together. You don't like me. Damn it, I don't like you either. I'll be reorganizing these data and laws. If there's nothing, don't call me. 2333 said. My energy consumption is a bit high. Then how am I going to go back? Always running away after getting benefits? Ning Shu said angrily. 2333 said, I set a time for the system. As long as you complete the mission, you will be sent back. This time, there are a lot of things in the virtuous queen system. I need some time to organize them. Then when you're done, will you level up? Ning Shu asked. Maybe, maybe not. 2333 was not sure. 2333 had already devoured 2 systems and this system was not weak at all. 2333 was like a giant pit, no, a black hole. Okay, then get out. Ning Shu waved her hand. 2333 was silent. She did not know when he would speak again. Now, she was the only one left. After dealing with Noble Zhou and the virtuous queen system, Ning Shu was content to be a virtuous queen. When she had nothing to do, she would let the concubines in the palace chat with her. Most of the time, Ning Shu was taking care of this body. When Fu Wanhui came back, she could give birth to a child. A man like Zhao Su was unreliable. If she wanted a country, she would not have a woman. Having a child would at least make her lower body less miserable. To be honest, Ning Shu wanted to leave as soon as possible. When facing Zhao Su, Ning Shu felt that Zhao Su was suspicious of her identity. Now, Zhao Su did not love noble Zhou. She did not scatter the concubines for noble Zhou. No matter who was favored or not, they all had a place to live. Like in the plot, they were all chased out of the palace and lost their reputation. Now, the concubines in the palace at least had a good reputation. Ning Shu really couldn't figure it out. Was the person who did this really Zhao Su? Was Zhao Su possessed? Sure enough, people in love had zero IQ. In order to please the person they loved, in order to make the person they loved smile, they would do anything. Ning Shu thought there was another possibility, which was that the country's luck had been stolen. If the heavens wanted to destroy a person, they would first inflate and make them crazy. Chapter 997. Ding. Considered complete, now leaving the quest world. The system's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind, but it wasn't 2333's voice. 2333's voice had emotions. This voice was more like the cold mechanical voice of the beloved concubine system. Ning Shu's mind shook for a moment, then returned to the system space. Taking a deep breath, he felt that it was really difficult to act like a noble and elegant empress. Wearing a head full of pearls every day, with a face full of thick makeup, it was tiring. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and sighed. He still hadn't seen the world's origin. When would he encounter the world's origin? Ning Shu opened the attribute window to see how many points he had. Number, 2333. Name, Ning Shu, high-level quest taker, age, 27 points, 21, 155/3000000 soul, 320 health, 101 wisdom, 294 charm, 20 luck, 139 spirit, 200 faith, 351540000 martial strength, 212 qualifications, 89 merit, 129055 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, absolute martial arts entry, beginner poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skill, ghost catching skill. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Tools, Calm Aura, Faith Aura, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2 Aura, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Model Worker, Chen Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura, Grass Blessing, Best Friend, Miao Miao Miao's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand, Zhu Sunyang's Blessing, Founding Female General, Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Lawful Beauty, Chen Ning's Blessing, Complete Empress Fu Wanhui's Wish and Make Zhou Guiren disappear. Completion rate, 100%. Received 3 million points, 50 attribute points, 4,000 faith, 5 merit points. Where did the 5 merit points come from? Ning Shu was confused, but 2333 wouldn't respond to her now. She got it, it was good. Ning Shu distributed the attribute points. Number, 2333. Name, Ning Shu, high-level quest taker, age, 27 points, 24, 150,000 soul, 320 health, 101 wisdom, 29410 charm, 20 luck, 13910 spiritual power, 20010 faith, 7,515 combat power, 21210 aptitude, 8910 merit, 12910 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, beginner level peerless martial arts, beginner level poison technique, beginner level business management knowledge, beginner level code programming, beginner level lawyer skills, master ghost catching skills. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor items, Calm Halo, Faith Halo, Amulet 4, upgraded amulet 2. Halo, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Model Worker, Chen Shi's Blessing, Leader Halo, Chao's Blessing, Best Friend for a Lifetime, Miao Miao Miao's Blessing, Lifesaver, Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Female General, Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Lawful Beauty, Chen Ning's Blessing. After distributing the attribute points, Ning Shu immediately opened the exchange shop, intending to exchange for a slightly more powerful soul attack secret manual. Peerless martial arts could be cultivated, the body could be cultivated, and the soul could be cultivated. However, the attack power would only be great if one cultivated Qi Jin. Her soul could not cultivate Qi Jin at all, so her attack power was not good. She wanted to exchange for a pure attack secret manual. Now that she was a high-level mission enforcer, the world she encountered would only become more and more bizarre. She had to have the strength to protect herself. Ning Shu browsed through the secret manuals and saw a lot of soul secret manuals. Some were expensive, some were cheap. The cheap ones could be bought for a few hundred points, while the expensive ones cost 2,000 merit points and a few thousand faith. Damn, this is daylight robbery. However, the items exchanged with merit points and faith would not be recycled by the system. Even if she wanted to exchange, Ning Shu planned to use merit points or faith to exchange. What if she encountered some special mission and the system took back her secret manuals and detained them? What would she do if she could not cultivate at all? Fuck, the system store would really do anything to earn money. Only by spending merit points to survive would the faith truly belong to you. Only then would the ownership be yours. If it was something exchanged with points, it would take it away and forcefully tear it down. It's so dark. Ning Shu browsed a few rounds and could not make up her mind. She browsed through the contents of the secret manuals word by word. Ding dong. The chatting system rang. Ning Shu opened the chatting system and saw a message from Mei Ziqing asking her to meet up in the virtual space. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Perhaps Mei Ziqing had something to say to her. Ning Shu chose a soul secret manual that could transform one's soul power into various offensive weapons. Ning Shu took a fancy to it, but it cost 3,000 faith points. Ning Shu looked at the price and her heart twitched. Based on the way she was spending, when would she be able to save up the faith points and merit points? So heartbroken. Ning Shu hammered his heart. Forget it, I'll go to the virtual space to meet Mei Ziqing first. Ning Shu stood in the virtual space's passageway and felt a little dizzy. He stood on the quaint limestone street and walked towards the restaurant, waiting for Mei Ziqing at the entrance. Mei Ziqing arrived soon after. She smiled when she saw Ning Shu. Ning Shu was stunned when he saw Mei Ziqing. Mei Ziqing's soul had become much stronger, just like a real person. She had fair skin and he could even see her blood vessels. The two entered the restaurant. Ning Shu asked Mei Ziqing, "What's the hurry? You want the world's origin to build a world?" Mei Ziqing asked Ning Shu. "The world's origin is very rare. Ordinary mission enforcers have no use for it. Only super mission enforcers and above would look for it." Mei Ziqing looked at Ning Shu. "Are you going to build a world now?" Ning Shu suddenly didn't know how to answer Mei Ziqing. They were only acquaintances, but Mei Ziqing's direct question made Ning Shu feel awkward. Maybe he shouldn't tell others about building a world. Ning Shu decided to be careful. "I'm not building a world. I'm helping someone find the materials." Mei Ziqing looked at Ning Shu. "Are you helping your boyfriend?" Ning Shu, what the hell is a blue friend? Ning Shu's mouth twitched. He was speechless for a while. "I'm helping someone. I can't reveal it." Ning Shu took a sip of tea and said. Mei Ziqing rubbed her forehead and sighed. "I really don't know anything about building a world." Chapter 998. It's hard to build a world. Ning Shu sighed. It was like a bird looking for materials to build its nest. It was not easy to build a nest. By the way, why are you looking for me? Ning Shu asked Mei Ziqing. Mei Ziqing took out a box and pushed it in front of Ning Shu. You have become a high-level mission enforcer. This is your gift. Thank you. Ning Shu accepted the gift. Other than the gift, is there anything else? Mei Ziqing looked hesitant. Ning Shu said, what is it? Well, do you have extra power of faith? Can you lend me some? Mei Ziqing looked ashamed. Ning Shu was surprised. You don't have any power of faith? Without building a world, how can I have any power of faith? It usually comes from the world I built, Mei Ziqing said. In missions, there should be people who can provide me with power of faith. Her power of faith came from mission worlds. Some people even gave her a halo. It can be obtained, but it's more difficult. I see that you have power of faith, Mei Ziqing said. Ning Shu asked again, other than being able to buy items, what other uses does the power of faith have? Other than being a currency, it can also be used as a means of attack. Being attacked by the power of faith is like being attacked by pure spiritual power. The power of faith is the purest form of spiritual power, Mei Ziqing said. I see. What do you need power of faith for? Ning Shu asked. How much power of faith do you need? You're lending it to me so easily. Aren't you afraid that I won't return it to you? Mei Ziqing couldn't help but laugh. Ning Shu said, I don't have much power of faith. I don't know if I can lend it to you, 100 power of faith. I need 3,000 power of faith. I'm just short of 100, Mei Ziqing said. 3,000 power of faith. Do you want to exchange for something? Ning Shu guessed. I want to exchange for something. I need it in the next world. Mei Ziqing shrugged helplessly. To lend or not to lend? I just happen to have 100 points of faith power. I'll lend it to you, Ning Shu said. Thank you. To be honest, I'm embarrassed to ask you for your power of faith, Mei Ziqing said shyly. I'm fine, Ning Shu said. No matter what, you saved my life. Mei Ziqing reached out and shook Ning Shu's hand. Thank you. Ning Shu pulled his hand out. It felt weird to be held by a woman. Ning Shu transferred 100 faith power to Mei Ziqing. Mei Ziqing patted Ning Shu's shoulder. Good luck. I will help you keep an eye out for news about the world's origin. Thank you, Ning Shu said. After flying away with Mei Ziqing, Ning Shu prepared to go to the consultation room to ask. Ning Shu wanted to exchange for a soul attack secret manual, but 3,000 faith power was too expensive. Ning Shu wanted to ask the silver-haired man what he should exchange for. The main reason was that he was still too inexperienced. There were many things that he didn't understand. As soon as she walked into the consultation room, Ning Shu smelled the fragrance of the room. She took a deep breath, and the smell calmed her down. The silver-haired man came out from the side room. He never left his book. When he saw Ning Shu, he stopped. It seemed that he didn't want to see Ning Shu. He had an expression that said, "Why is it you again? I have something to ask." Ning Shu sat down and said to the silver-haired man. The silver-haired man sat opposite Ning Shu. I promised you 3 chances. This is the last time. No, I'll pay this time. I still have that chance. Ning Shu waved his hand. If there was anything important in the future, he would use it. Right now, it was just a matter of choosing a secret manual. There was no need to waste an important free opportunity. What do you want to ask? The silver-haired man looked at Ning Shu and placed one hand on the thick book. I want to practice a soul attack secret manual. What secret manual should I exchange for? Ning Shu asked. The silver-haired man was speechless for a while. That's it? Yes. Ning Shu nodded. Secret manuals are too expensive. It's difficult to choose. You can use your mental power to compress your soul power into an attack. The silver-haired man raised his hand. An offensive weapon similar to a dagger formed in his hand. I see. This kind of attack can be completed with your mental power. It doesn't need a secret manual. However, you need to practice diligently. It can train your mental power and control of your soul. That secret manual only turns your soul power into an attack. It has nothing to do with mental power, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu tried but failed. He tried several times but still failed. Instead, he felt quite tired. Go back and practice well. The consultation fee is 3 million points, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu's eyes widened. So expensive? The silver-haired man glanced at Ning Shu and said in a gentlemanly manner, a soul cultivation secret manual requires at least 1,000 merit points. If converted into points, it should be 50 million points. Is 3 million points expensive? The silver-haired man asked. Ning Shu nodded. Yes. Ning Shu paid 3 million points and left. In the end, it was still a good deal. Ning Shu returned to the system space and began to practice soul attacks. He used his mental power to compress his soul into an attack power. However, Ning Shu did not succeed. Practice makes perfect. However, Ning Shu did not find the skill to fuse the two. He could not find the fusion point. After practicing for a while, Ning Shu felt very tired. He had used too much mental power. Ning Shu stopped practicing soul attack power. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the sofa and began to practice the peerless martial arts. He absorbed the pure soul power in the system space. When his mental power recovered, Ning Shu began to practice compressing soul power. After practicing for a long time, he finally formed the shape of a wooden stick. The shape was quite irregular. Why was the silver-haired man able to compress his soul power into any shape and size at will, but she could not? She could form her soul power into a weapon. Ning Shu suspected that the gun used by the school doctor was formed with soul power. Compared to this, she was really weak. She could only practice slowly. At first, she was like a child walking, very slow and clumsy. After practicing for a while, she was very tired. Ning Shu could not practice anymore. She could only stop and rest for a while. She said to 2333, "Let's see the next client." Then she remembered that 2333 was silent now. "Do you want to see the client now?" A mechanical voice sounded. "Yes, let's see the client." Ning Shu nodded. "Okay." A soul gradually appeared in the system space. She was wearing a tight suit and had a long ponytail. She looked quite comfortable. When she saw Ning Shu, she said, "I want to counterattack." Chapter 999. Counterattacking requires a soul. Are you sure? Ning Shu asked. Yes. The woman nodded. I want to counterattack. I am Yu Shuangshuang. I am a summoner, Yu Shuangshuang said. Summoner. That was something new. Ning Shu had never encountered such a power system before. Ning Shu asked, "Then what is your wish?" I want to be strong. I want to defeat Lien Frost Dream, but my summoned beasts are weak. Yu Shuangshuang said. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and decided to read the plot first. This was a world of summoning. Everyone yearned to become a summoner. Summoned beasts were summoned from another time and space. Summoned beasts could grow together with their masters. Some people's summoned beasts were very powerful, some were very weak. Some people's spiritual power was strong enough to summon several beasts, while some people could only summon one beast in their entire life. Yu Shuangshuang, on the other hand, was a rather pitiful existence. She had summoned an extremely weak summon beast, and she could only summon one beast. However, he was still a summoner. Not everyone in the summoning world could become a summoner. What was different from Yu Shuangshuang was that Lien Frost Dream was a person favored by the heavens. She had transmigrated from a king-level mercenary to a young miss of the Lien family. Moreover, when she crossed over, she had also obtained a mysterious bead. This bead allowed Frost Dream to transform from someone who couldn't summon a beast into someone who could summon a powerful beast. Moreover, she could summon many powerful beasts. Logically speaking, even a powerhouse like Frost Dream shouldn't have any interactions with Yu Shuangshuang. However, the trash Lien Frost Dream had come to the Summoner Academy to study, and had even become Yu Shuangshuang's deskmate. Before Lien Frost Dream had transmigrated, she was the infamous trash of the Lien family. When she came to the academy to study, Yu Shuangshuang was the first person to extend a friendly hand to her. Although Yu Shuangshuang had summoned beasts, they were indeed very weak. They were very weak and were also called trash. The feeling of being in the same boat caused Yu Shuangshuang and Lien Frost Dream to walk together. Everyone else was laughing at her, but there was still someone who treated her as a friend. Even Frost Dream had accepted Yu Shuangshuang. Lien Frost Dream was a very proud and arrogant person. When she was bullied by others, Yu Shuangshuang would stand in front of her and speak up for her. Even Frost Dream had said that she could deal with these people. In front of everyone's eyes, she had summoned a dragon-shaped summon beast, shocking everyone. He had summoned a dragon-shaped summon beast, and even Frost Dream had summoned a six-tailed fox. This time, the onlookers were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Even Frost Dream had gone from trash to a peerless genius. Yu Shuangshuang looked on from the side, her heart sour. She felt that the difference between her and Lien Frost Dream was as great as the heavens and earth. Many people laughed at her, saying that she had hugged onto a powerful thigh. Lien Frost Dream was so strong and yet she was so weak. Yu Shuangshuang subconsciously distanced herself from Lien Frost Dream. But, Lien Frost Dream thought that Yu Shuangshuang was her friend and requested that Yu Shuangshuang treat her the same as before. Although the two of them were together, the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. The gap between the two of them was getting bigger and bigger. People who were not on the same level would not be harmonious if they stayed together. There would always be people who would laugh at Yu Shuangshuang for being a bootlicker. But, others would ask Lien Frost Dream why she would want to be friends with Yu Shuangshuang. Even Frost Dream said that Yu Shuangshuang was my friend. As Yu Shuangshuang heard this, she wasn't moved at all. Instead, she felt embarrassed and embarrassed. Yu Shuangshuang liked a boy from the elite summoner class. This boy was an influential figure of the Summoner Academy. His talent was good, his family background was good, and he was also very handsome. When Frost Dream learned of this, she had Yu Shuangshuang confess. Yu Shuangshuang was a sensitive and self-abased person, so how could she confess in public? Moreover, Yu Shuangshuang knew that this boy wouldn't like her. Lien Frost Dream had suggested that Yu Shuangshuang write a love letter, and then Lien Frost Dream would deliver it for her. As for the boy that Yu Shuangshuang secretly loved, he thought that Lien Frost Dream was going to give him a love letter. He didn't even look at the love letter before agreeing. Lien Frost Dream's talent was outstanding and her appearance was noble and elegant. There were many boys in the Summoner Academy who had thoughts about her. As Yu Shuangshuang anxiously waited for the result, the boy found her and said that the one he liked was Lien Frost Dream and not her. Yu Shuangshuang was stunned. In order to prove that she cared about Yu Shuangshuang as a friend, Lien Frost Dream rejected the boy. Under the effects of the mysterious bead, Yu Shuangshuang's talent became increasingly good. Even so, Lien Frost Dream still treated Yu Shuangshuang as a friend. But, Yu Shuangshuang felt that the pressure on her became increasingly great. This was because Lien Frost Dream was the center of attention, and because of this, Yu Shuangshuang also became a public figure. More and more people despised her talent. Whenever they spoke of her, they would have a look of disapproval on their faces. She really didn't know how she had managed to climb onto Lien Frost Dream's side. More and more men gathered around Lien Frost Dream. There were princes, young masters of noble families, and all of them were extremely talented individuals. It was difficult for Yu Shuangshuang to blend in, but Lien Frost Dream would always bring her to a banquet. When Yu Shuangshuang scolded Lien Frost Dream would apologize. Then, others would berate Yu Shuangshuang, saying that Yu Shuangshuang was narrow-minded. Even Frost Dream apologized to you, so what do you want? In any case, Lien Frost Dream apologizing to her was an amazing matter. Yu Shuangshuang felt particularly embarrassed. Lien Frost Dream said that she wanted to be her friend, and others would say that Lien Frost Dream wanted to be her friend, so what do you want? Yu Shuangshuang couldn't bear this. Once again, when she left the academy to adventure, Yu Shuangshuang grasped her weapon and thrust it towards Lien Frost Dream's back. Lien Frost Dream had so many summoned beasts, so how could she possibly be wounded by the weak Yu Shuangshuang? Yu Shuangshuang was sent flying by Lien Frost Dream's summoned beast. She crashed into a tree trunk and fell to the ground, vomiting blood and barely breathing. Lien Frost Dream was deeply saddened by this betrayal. She couldn't imagine that her true friend would actually stab her in the back. Lien Frost Dream's friends comforted her, saying that some people's hearts were dark and they were jealous of her, thus they wanted to harm her. It was better to not have such a friend. Yu Shuangshuang's vision blurred as she watched a group of men surround Lien Frost Dream, including her crush. Finally, she breathed her last. After Ning Shu accepted the plot, he let out a long breath. This was a story of friendship overturning at the drop of a hat. Was Lien Frost Dream wrong? She was right. She felt that she was sincere enough to her friend, but her friend still wanted to kill her because of a man. Was Yu Shuangshuang wrong? That's right, to be together with a friend that wasn't on the same level as her, this sort of psychological pressure was far too great. If Lien Frost Dream had distanced herself from Yu Shuangshuang, then perhaps this wouldn't have happened. She didn't know what Lien Frost Dream was thinking, but she insisted that Yu Shuangshuang become her friend. Was it because of Yu Shuangshuang's good intentions? Chapter 1000. This was a world where the strong were respected. Truth was expressed through strength. Lien Frost Dream believed that she understood the feelings of the weak. She treated Yu Shuangshuang with sympathy and charity. Lien Frost Dream thought that she was very good to Yu Shuangshuang, but Yu Shuangshuang had betrayed her. As for Yu Shuangshuang, the boy that she secretly loved liked Lien Frost Dream and followed her around every day. But, Lien Frost Dream actually called him a partner. All the men around her were partners that she could entrust her life to. In the face of danger, she could trust her back to them. So many partners, the men by Lien Frost Dream's side were like the moon surrounded by the masses, revolving around her like a bright moon. As for Yu Shuangshuang, her talent wasn't good and she wasn't strong, so no one cared about her. In the end, she was just too weak. Only when she was strong could she be fundamental. Now, Yu Shuangshuang's only wish was to become strong. As for defeating Lien Frost Dream, that was only to prove that she was stronger than her. She was still unwilling to accept this. Can you reverse the situation for me? Yu Shuangshuang asked Ning Shu. Yu Shuangshuang said in a low voice, I really can't withstand the gazes of those around me. I am a weakling. Those people that can't attack Lien Frost Dream will attack me because I am close to her. But at this time, Lien Frost Dream is like a savior that stands up for me. I really can't withstand this. I don't want to be friends with Lien Frost Dream. Those around her say that I don't know how to appreciate favors. Yu Shuangshuang lowered her head, I can't breathe. In her entire life, she hadn't been able to get rid of Lien Frost Dream. She had always been under her shadow. Even if she wanted to get rid of her, she couldn't. When others looked at her, they thought that she was someone who only knew how to hug her thigh. She was such a weak chicken, and yet she shamelessly followed beside goddess Lien Frost Dream. Do you want to defeat Lien Frost Dream? Ning Shu asked. I want to be strong. Yu Shuangshuang said, if I am strong, then the boy I like will like me. Ning Shu couldn't help but say, if you are strong and outstanding, then why do you still like him? Yu Shuangshuang was stunned for a moment. Then, she said, that makes sense. He didn't care about me at all. When I died, he looked at me with an angry expression. Is Frost Dream really that good? Yu Shuangshuang asked. People like to do things in a swarm. For example, a swarm of bees likes a person, Ning Shu said casually. Even Frost Dream was powerful and beautiful. It was normal for men to like her. Can you counterattack for me? Yu Shuangshuang asked again. Ning Shu thought about it. She hadn't been to this kind of world before, so she might be able to reap some benefits. Ning Shu now focused on the world's origin. Even if he had become a super mission enforcer, he would still not be able to control his own fate if he did not have a world of his own. Even if she was a high-level mission giver, as long as she constructed a world, she would still be able to control her own destiny. Moreover, the data for the promotion to Super Mission Enforcer was just too ridiculous. To counterattack, you need to sacrifice your soul power. Are you sure you want to counterattack? Once the deal is done, you can't go back on your word, Ning Shu said. I'm sure. I'm willing to offer 60% of my soul power. Yu Shuangshuang nodded, looking determined. Good, I'll accept this mission. Ning Shu agreed. What Ning Shu was curious about was what Lien Frost Dream's mysterious bead was, that it could allow her to summon so many powerful summon beasts. Thank you. Yu Shuangshuang's soul gradually disappeared. Ning Shu opened the system's exchange store and exchanged for basic items such as fasting pills. Then, he prepared to enter the mission. Enter the mission. Ning Shu said from the void. Yes. Ning Shu felt his soul fuse into a body. After the fusion was complete, Ning Shu opened his sore eyes, feeling a stabbing pain in them. This body was lying on a table, crying. Someone was pushing her body from the side. Shuangshuang, I never thought that things would turn out like this. How could I have known that Muziki would think that I was confessing to him? I apologize to you. Ning Shu looked up at the girl who spoke. The girl beside her was wearing the white robes of the Summoner Academy, and her long hair was tied into a ponytail. The girls of the Summoner Academy were all dressed like this. Her facial features were delicate and moving. She was very beautiful, and her eyebrows carried a flamboyant charm. Her entire person was extremely beautiful. Shuangshuang, isn't it just a man? I'll introduce you to better men in the future. It's his loss that he didn't take a liking to you. Lien Frost Dream said, could it be that you and I are going to separate because of a man? Ning Shu wiped his eyes with a tissue and sniffled. His voice was a bit hoarse as he said, can't I just cry and mourn the death of my crush? I know that you still blame me in your heart. To be honest, I don't understand why you would want to die for a man. Lien Frost Dream shrugged her shoulders and spread out her hands. In this world, Muziki isn't the only man. Don't use your ideas to look down on the weakness of others. Because you are strong and beautiful, there are far too many people to choose from. But for someone like you Shuangshuang, if the person she liked her back, that was the greatest fortune in life. This little boat of friendship was bound to capsize. The two of them had different views and experiences. Lien Frost Dream was an international mercenary, and Yu Shuangshuang was a weak and sensitive person. Being evenly matched was the best way to coexist, whether it was in friendship or in love. I don't blame you. I know that I am not worthy of Muziki. Muziki's family is a noble, and I am only an ordinary commoner. Moreover, my talent is lacking. Ning Shu lightly said. Lien Frost Dream patted Ning Shu's shoulder, don't underestimate yourself. There is no need to compare yourself with others. In my heart, you are the best. You are always better than those people who worship the strong and trample on the weak. Thank you for the praise. Ning Shu smiled. So, who was right and who was wrong in this matter? There was nothing wrong with standing in his own position. Lien Frost Dream let out a long breath, clearly relieved. Sometimes, Lien Frost Dream felt that facing the sensitive Yu Shuangshuang was quite tiring. She had to pay attention to what she said. She had to consider whether or not her words had accidentally poked her heart. However, Yu Shuangshuang had a kind heart. When she was still a waste, only Yu Shuangshuang had stood up for her and spoken up for her. In this world where the strong were revered, this was a very precious thing. If it were someone else with a darker mind, they would have bullied her even more. Frost Dream, it's time to eat. Mu Ziki walked in. Mu Ziki was quite handsome. He wore the uniform of a school and his entire person was full of heroic spirit. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.